Okay, so it's 7 o'clock, and I will now open the public meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board on Tuesday, August 27th, 2019, at 7 PM at the Wellfleet Senior Center. We'll begin with announcements, open session, and public comments. Please note that the public comments must be brief. The board will not deliberate or vote on any matter raised solely during announcement and public comments. Are there any announcements or comments from the board? Yes, Kathleen.
Comment with regard to correction I'd like to make on the July 23rd meeting, to which I was absent because of a work constraint. During the brief discussion of Hilda, our chair mentioned that I had recused. In fact, I was just absent because of a work conflict. So just wanted to make that correction to the viewers. Thank you.
Is that in the minutes?
I hope so.
Yes.
Yes, it's represented.
Okay, so you're correcting the minutes.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
it's corrected in the minutes.
Okay, all right. Any other comments from the board? Any from the audience? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. There's a request from Winslow's Tavern to extend their seasonal liquor license to January 1st, 2020.
Madam Chair, I'll be recusing from this.
Okay. I just want to clarify, if Tracy, if you want to come up to the microphone or anything, but I just want to clarify, because on here, there's a request to extend it to January 1st, but on our paper that we get, it's to December 31st. So are you planning on being open New Year's Eve? Yes. Okay, so you want it till January 1st? The next, yeah. Yes. Yeah, okay. Any comments from the board? Yes, Justina?
Thanks, Tracy, for staying open. It's nice when there's something open on Main Street and places for people to go and gather.
Any other comments from the board?
No.
Go ahead.
No.
Oh, you said no, okay. Any from the audience? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the extension of a seasonal liquor license for Winslow's Tavern to January 1st, 2020.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Kathleen,
4 to
come
0.
back.
And now we have an application from Richard Goldberg to transfer shellfish license 2001-08 to Richard Goldberg and Dave Seitler.
I'll be recusing from this one.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Any comments from our shellfish constable?
No, I think it's great to have a collaboration between them.
Okay.
Are there either of them here or no?
They're both
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
Yep. Any comments from you guys? Okay. So may I have a motion?
I move to approve the transfer of shellfish grant license number 2001-08 from Richard Goldberg to Richard Goldberg and Dave Seitler, as recommended by the Shellfish Constable.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you, unanimous. Very good, thank you. And then moving on to changing shellfish regulations.
Madam Chair.
So, all right, yeah, I think you're going to say, we're all going to say, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I conferred with the Shellfish Constable and also with the chair of the Shellfish Advisory Board before this. And I attended the last Shellfish Advisory Board meeting where they vetted a change to this recommendation. And we have the draft in our packet. It basically said condos wouldn't be allowed on grants in winter, and it also said that racks would not have to be snugged down to 8 inches, they'd have to be snugged down from 6 to 4 inches. And that's what the Shellfish Committee
So I'm going to
arrived.
interrupt you for a second,
Right.
because I know what you're talking about, but since we have many shellfish people here tonight, the Shellfish Constable recommended that we have we hear what people here want to say about that so that it can be taken back to the Shellfish Advisory Board.
Yes, Madam Chair, but I'm not done, because there was another draft given to us in our homework. And this came with some very good new ideas from the Shellfish Constable. There have been some new developments since the last Shellfish Advisory Board meeting. And the language in this second draft, which is in our homework packet, includes some of them, particularly in the Appendix D, which is the contract for overwintering. The Shellfish Committee has not had a chance to look at this exact language and has not had a chance, therefore, to give us a recommendation. And our protocol is to have them recommend and vet regulations that come before us for our approval. And there are a lot of people from the Shellfish Committee here, from the shellfish community, and yes, I would like to hear from them. But I am going to recommend that we continue this hearing until September 24th, which is after the next Shellfish Committee meeting, when they can look at this new language, which includes some new stuff that isn't anywhere near what the Shellfish Committee looked at. And there has been a wonderful new development that the Shellfish Constable can tell us about.
So do you still want to leave it open just to comment, not discussion, but comment from people about their concerns?
I think it's important because people showed up tonight, and I think, why not hear what they have to say, and then that can help us as we go about our work with the Shellfish Advisory Board. So this was not just me, this was weeks of meeting and planning and researching.
Sorry, Nancy, can I just interrupt for a second? I just have to,
Really?
I have to recuse myself, and
Okay.
I just want to
Sorry.
publicly state
Yes.
it.
Okay,
So,
thank
okay,
you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I?
Yes.
Helen, while I understand your intent with this, I'd like it to be known that I've done a lot of homework on this already, and read a lot and talked to a lot of people, and I'm ready to make a decision on it. But I will give it the time that it needs so that more information can come forward. So,
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I
wait,
respond
to do
so I,
Respond to that, please.
just wait. So this is going back and forth. So we know that most people here are here for the shellfish regulations, right? Yes, many people here are for that. Our Shellfish Constable is aware that the Shellfish Advisory Board has not reviewed these proposed regulations yet. We're aware that there are some new ones that have been brought forth, or some changes, but our Shellfish Constable is suggesting that right now we just hear from all the people that came if they have comments. Maybe they haven't even read the new proposals, but if they have comments, we are not going to deliberate on them. We're just going to hear your comments so that they can be taken back to the Shellfish Advisory Board, and our Shellfish Constable will know where people's concerns are.
And that would be great. I think that's
Yeah.
respectful of everybody who came. And I just did want to share with everybody that we reached out to the Center for Coastal Studies. I already informed the Select Board of this.
Yeah.
And they have money left over in a grant. And they will be coming and working with the department and with shellfishermen here in town to conduct an aquaculture gear cleanup of the harbor using sonar equipment and maps, charts of our harbor. So the harbor master and I will work closely with them in the shellfish department, of course, and then as many boats and shellfishermen as we can round up will also help, and we'll be doing that, which I think is great before
It
the
is great.
dredging, that we're
Yeah.
cleaning up some important
Madam
gear.
Yes.
Chair, may I now?
Kathleen had her
Question?
hand
No,
up.
I
She had her
asked
hand
it.
up first.
question to Madam Chair, through you to
Settle it, okay.
our Shellfish Constable. I'm trying to collect myself after all the drama. When would that happen?
Before December.
That'd be great. And do you think we could get that filmed and documented?
Yeah, we will definitely be taking photographs, like, to document the gear that's coming up.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
the shellfish department will be doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that will help inform us as we move forward in future years.
Helen?
Yes, and Kathleen, I agree with you. I would have been ready to make a vote tonight, but I feel that one of the best things about our process vis-à-vis the shellfishing community is that we follow this protocol that we have, where particularly when there's a regulation,
Oh, yeah.
we wait for the advice.
I get that.
Yeah, so, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, so if you have a comment concerning the regulations that may be changed, or if you have suggestions, kindly go to one of the microphones, state your name, state your comment, and Nancy will take note. Okay, anybody have any comments or concerns? Come on. Everybody's happy with them? Okay, moving right along.
I have one question.
Okay.
If you were going to vote on this tonight, do you have the recommendation from the Marine Advisory Committee and the Harbor Master?
No, but that's a
No, we-
good suggestion.
We don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't. We only have a recommendation, for what the Shellfish Advisory Board sent to us, not the new language. That's why I think we should continue this hearing.
Janet?
Well, we received a letter.
Yeah, Alfred, sorry.
So,
Maybe Mike can answer the question.
I would just like to make my recommendation. I would recommend that all shellfishing gear be removed for 2 months during the winter, probably the months of July and February at least, so that they don't get caught in the ice
In
again.
January.
From January 1st to the end of February. That would be my
Okay.
recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Janet?
Yes,
Excuse me. So the Marina Advisory Committee did send to the Select Board a recommendation that they voted on, but I guess it didn't make it into the packet.
It's not in the packet, but I had the letter.
It is in the packet?
It's not in the packet.
It's not in the
but I did
packet,
have
but
it.
you all got copied
I
on
read
it,
the
as
letter.
did I.
okay.
So it should be maybe in the packet for the
Yeah,
next
well,
time.
this will carry on through till next meeting anyhow, so that's all fine. There's no pressure or rush. We have till January 1st, sorta, right?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yes, two things. One is, as the Shellfish Constable reminded me this afternoon, the earlier we can do this, and I am going to move to continue it to September 24th, which is immediately after the next Shellfish Committee meeting. People need to plan what their business
Exactly.
is going to
Yeah,
be this
we know
winter.
that, Carolyn,
So that's
okay.
the soonest we can do it decently.
We'll try and give you a heads
And,
up.
Just so the public knows, the Marine Advisory Committee weighed in saying exactly what the harbor master just said. Everything removed, please. It was a nice, clear letter, and I know we all got it electronically.
Mr. Aberdale,
On July 24th, the Marine Advisory Committee supported the Harbor Master's recommendation that the town require all shellfish apparatus be removed prior to winter, as the apparatuses remaining pose a threat to safety and navigation, as well as cause problems with the placement of moorings at the start of the boating season. The Marine Advisory Committee also recommends the mandatory placement of approved uniform ownership tags on all shellfish apparatuses. This was sent, it's a matter of record, on July 25th, and I confirmed that it was received in Town Hall by the Select Board. Thank you.
thank you. Any other comments? Questions?
Comment, sorry. So the
Oh,
public,
wait, I haven't recognized you. I'm waiting for the public to see if they want to say anything. Good, all right, go for it, Helen.
yeah, just one thing. If the public wants to read both the text of these two different offered amendments, they are on the town website in the Select Board's packet for tonight. And the language is there kindly, the Shellfish Constable kindly provided it. So once again, there are two. Take a look, be sure to take a look at Appendix D.
Every single shell fisherman was emailed the PDF and text messaged with the link to the packet
Thank you, Nancy.
last Friday.
Yeah.
So, and you're requesting that our meeting at the end of September is the one that we'll look at this again, we'll review it,
And I'll move
because
to-
that will be after the Shellfish Advisory Board meets. Okay.
Can we discuss that date another time, because I won't be here?
Oh. Maybe we should ask the Shellfish Committee to have a special meeting for this? In other words, I wouldn't want to wait until the beginning of October for this.
I'm going to get my phone, my calendar.
Yeah, thank you, Kathleen, because that wouldn't have been good.
Well, at least there's quite a few Shellfish Advisory Board members here. 1, 2, 3, 4. At least 4. Am I missing somebody? Oh, John and Tom.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
We'd still have a quorum.
Hmm?
We would still have a quorum on September 24th.
Yeah, but I really want to weigh in on this.
Well, I know, but
My suggestion,
Well, just wait and see what Nancy
It's going to
has
be
say
really
for a
hard to have
date.
another Shellfish Advisory Board meeting before the September 10th because it's
Yeah,
double tides and
she was
negative
talking-
tides.
Your meeting is for September 10th, or?
Our
that
meeting is on the 15th, on the
Shellfish
18th.
Advisory
yes.
Board is the 15th.
no, the 18th.
I'm sorry, Shellfish Advisory meets on the 18th, but the Select Board meets on the 10th. And we've got, I don't know, what people in the shellfishing community can correct me, but we have a week of double tides, really good negative tides, where people will be planting and doing a lot of work.
Madam
Figure
Chair?
it out, Helen.
Yeah,
Perhaps you could write, perhaps Kathleen could convey her input
Concerns.
via a letter if she can't be here in person.
We could wait till October.
No, it's,
we'll see what everyone suggests. We have a little bit of time.
You know, the
Uh,
other
c-
thing is that, I'm just going to be honest, Shellfish Advisory did not come up with any ideas besides taking condos off and pushing the racks down from 8 to 4 to 6 inches. So, you know, they had the same regulations to look at as I did. And they weren't able to come up with anything else, so that's when my team and I sat together and came up with these. I'm just trying to be respectful of the fact that any changes, people are going to need time. I'm happy to postpone, but, you know, I want to be respectful of the way the board works, too.
So, Madam Chair? Guess what? One of the things from my future concerns was the meeting after September 24th is on October 8th, which is the beginning of Yom Kippur, the biggest, arguably, holiday in the Jewish year. And we have agreed over the years not to have a meeting on that night because it willfully excludes people. You know, it's like having a meeting on Christmas or something. So we would have to reschedule our Select Board meeting anyway, right? In other words, the 24th of September is when Kathleen can't make it, and our next meeting would have been on October 8th. So here's a question, Nancy, looking at the tide chart, because we would want the Shellfish community to show up for this, even if they show up for the Shellfish Committee meeting. What does October the 1st look like? Or, Dan, can you have suggestions about something else besides Yom Kippur? We decided some time ago not to have our meetings on that
Do you want to
day.
weigh in on this a lot? Can you go to the Shellfish Advisory Board meeting on the
October 1st would be,
18th?
I mean, I don't see any conflict with
You're not
October
adding
1st if,
To it. She just said that.
So, Nancy, October 1st tides
Negatives, double negatives.
in the evening.
Yep, 8:35.
Well,
Okay, so let's have a motion to postpone
Do you guys agree?
this.
I mean, it's the sun setting earlier, but they're negative 1.6. It's up to you guys.
Madam Chair, what about letting Kathleen comment tonight?
Either way, are you ready? You're not ready.
I mean,
Are
do you want to
ready?
move on this tonight?
No, we're
Yeah,
not
okay.
moving on it. We're
Or I can
postponing
make
it.
my comments tonight and be on the record for it, then
All right,
that's
sure,
great.
if you're
Yeah.
ready.
If you're ready
Okay,
and feel
so, this is kind of a biggie. It's a big regulation change, and I'm in 100% agreement with the harbor master and the Marina Advisory Committee on this. I consider myself an environmentalist. I've lived here all my life, and I'm watching what this crap is doing in our harbor and our waterways, or what it's doing to the marine life. And I'll be very interested to see what that sonar study puts upon the bulkhead up at the pier. I think you're all going to be shocked at how much abandoned equipment is out in the water. I will not support leaving any kind of equipment out in the harbor or our waterways over the winter months when we get ice. I will not support a regulation that doesn't state that anybody that's a shell fisherman in Wellfleet, every piece of equipment, every bag, every piece of rebar, every zip tie has to have a name tag on it. I want to know who it belongs to. This stuff is killing us. It's killing our marine life. It's killing our water quality. It's killing us. The shellfishing industry has gone from picking in the wild, when I was a kid growing up here, to an industry that's $6.5 million a year. Let's get responsible. Let's be responsible to the environment and to the industry itself. I'm not going to have the chance to weigh in on the 24th because I've got to take time off. I've been working 7 nights a week in what's been the hottest summer on the planet, in a kitchen. So I thank the board for allowing me to make these comments tonight. I am vehement about my feeling on this, and I think that it's the responsible, environmentally responsible thing to do. You're out there farming, you're making money, you're going to have to make the time, the labor, the effort to remove all your equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. Well said. Good. So your comments go into the record, and so you will then want the, after the Shellfish Advisory Board meets, reviews these, we'll have them again on, what's our date?
September 24th.
24th, September 24th. We'll
I make a
do
motion?
that.
You need to move to continue,
Yes.
Yes, is she gonna, yeah.
I move to continue the hearing to change, to amend Section 7.19.5 of the Wellfleet Shellfish Policy and Regulations, including Appendix D, to September 24th.
Second.
At time certain, at what time?
It does, we don't have to do the time
Okay.
at this point. You seconded it, yes, okay, all in favor? Thank you. And again, anybody who has comments, you can certainly always email them to us or to our Shellfish Constable. Thank you. Good?
Thank you. Mike?
Oh, yeah. I do forget to call people back in.
It's okay, I can do
Okay. So now, Building Needs and Assessment Committee, we have Harry Turkanian up for reappointment.
Thank you for your comment.
So thank you for reapplying. And is this just for 1 year?
Yes, the reason I requested that is my primary interest is in finishing the police station project. We still have a small retainage because there's a small punch list, and we still have to file our evaluations of the contractor and the architect with the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance. So there's a little bit of work to do. I had hoped that it would have been finished by June 30th of this year, but it didn't work out that way. So given how understaffed the Building and Needs Assessment Committee is, we need enough members so we have a quorum. So
Okay, great.
hence the reason for the request.
Any comments from the board? Kathleen?
Harry, couldn't you sign up for 3 more committees? I mean, really?
You'll get there.
No, but thank you.
I'm on,
2 more?
I'm on 5 committees. This is the 5th of
All right.
So.
Yeah. Well, thank you. May I have a motion?
I move to reappoint Harry Turkanian to the Building Needs and Assessment Committee for a 1-year term.
Second?
All in favor? And thank you for your service,
And
your
if you-
endless service.
If you would consider appointing Pete Williams as the DPW alternate to the Police Station Building Committee, I'd appreciate that too, because Davis Walters, as you know, is
Oh, yeah.
now employed in Orleans, and he was the previous alternate.
Do you want it in
Can we
this
do that
motion?
without it being on the agenda?
No.
We can't do it with, but next time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Courtney, you'll make a note of that, please. All right. We have Dick Elkin to the Cape Cod Commission. And so I heard from somebody else who was also, although quite late to the application, was also considering or would like to be considered for this position. I told the person it's Jerry Parent, and I told him that I would confer with the board if they wanted to postpone to consider 2 applicants, or whether they would like to continue with Mr. Elkin to this appointment.
Well, that's a shocker. I don't know.
Janet?
Yeah, Justina?
Yes, Madam Chair, I was actually going to suggest that we give it a little more time to see if anybody else came forward, given the importance of the Cape Cod Commission. I think we're really lucky that Dick's come forward, but I think given the prominence of the position, letting us consider 2 candidates in the best interest of the town.
Anybody else have comments?
Yes. Mr. Elkin is already on 4 things, and his broad knowledge, therefore, of the workings of the area are really comparable to that of the chair of the planning board, Jerry Parent. And they are more diverse, in my opinion. Mr. Elkin has already attended, even though he hadn't been appointed yet, a Cape Cod Commission meeting. And he has also done considerable work discussing his status, if any, in terms of someone who might be in conflict of interest when the Herring River project comes up. He's knowledgeable about the Herring River project, which is perhaps the biggest thing that's going to come before the Cape Cod Commission.
Who is?
The Herring River
Who's
project.
knowledgeable?
Mr. Elkin
Or
is.
Jerry?
Mr. Elkin, thank you, sorry, I wasn't specific. You're right. I should have put a name to the pronoun, sorry. But where I'm going with this is, although I have a lot of knowledge about Jerry and Jerry's, the chair of the planning board's way in which he works on the planning board, and I'm grateful to him for serving. That's a big job already, and I really think that we should have this appointment made, given that it's been hanging here, waiting for approval, for over a month, or more than that. And I even put out a shout-out for this a while back. And I would be ready to vote for Mr. Elkin tonight, given my knowledge of the 2 applicants. I think Mr. Elkin would be a really good candidate for this, particularly because of what he knows about energy and the fact that the Cape Cod Commission does way more than just stuff for Wellfleet. And if Mr. Elkin is ready to do that every 2 weeks, and plus being on side committees and stuff. That's a big job, and I really applaud him for it.
Any other comments from the board? Okay, so hearing none, I would weigh in that I think both people will be very good. I agree with Helen that Dick has applied for this, well, recently, but known about it. Having nothing to do with you or Mr. Parent, how long is the term? And I wanted to ask you, like, are you completing a term for Roger, or do you start, or, I have to say, I kind of quickly looked it up and didn't see that.
I have no idea.
I believe, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So when Roger Putnam stepped down, and I told him about this before he died, I made it my mission, out of gratitude for him, to look for somebody. And I called up the man who knows at the Cape Cod Commission. And it's a term that goes on indefinitely. But you can be pulled if you act badly by us, the appointing authority. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because you build expertise. You're going to be dealing with the person who's in that position deals with the whole Cape, even though that person is the representative from Wellfleet.
Okay. All right, so may I have a motion?
Madam
Or
Chair, I'd like
comments?
to say, given it's an indefinite term and we can't hear from Jerry tonight, I think waiting one more meeting would be responsible, because this is a serious appointment for a serious period of time. And we can ask Jerry if he questions that we can't do tonight.
Madam Chair?
I want Michael to weigh in. You have anything to say?
I have no problem waiting to have both candidates come before us. That said, I think looking at Mr. Elkin's application, I think he's suited for the position, but if we have two applicants, I think it would be due diligence for the board to consider both.
What are your views on the Herring River?
Well, for full disclosure, I have made modest contributions to the Friends of the Herring River. I haven't followed it extremely closely, but as a member of the public, I generally support it. I'm in favor of the project, obviously.
And what else would you say are some of your concerns or vision for the Cape Cod Commission?
Well, the Cape Cod Commission has a planning role. Beyond just approving projects that have Cape-wide impact, it also is the planning agency for Cape Cod. And the reason that I was interested in it, I became interested when they began to indicate that coastal resilience and energy was going to be a subject that they were going to get more involved in from a planning purpose. That is, it has a review function, but it also plans how the Cape should respond to energy issues, going to net zero or reducing our carbon impact, and also coastal resilience. And that's the reason, that planning aspect is why I became interested in this position. I subsequently found that the next thing on their agenda is the Herring River, but that was not my motivation. Obviously, as a Wellfleet resident, I'm in favor of the Herring River restoration project.
And I will say that Mr. Elkin has done a lot of work on our solar farm. What are we calling it? Our solar farm, our solar project?
Photovoltaic installation,
Yeah.
yes. That's
So, well, I think I did speak to Mr. Parent pretty briefly, and kind of feeling the board out and stuff. I mean, I'm ready to move on this if everybody else is, if anyone wants to make a motion.
Can I say one more thing about, and Jerry would also be a
Yes,
likely candidate.
he's very knowledgeable
However,
about planning and business.
I have a whole thing about checks and balances. And tagging on to what Mr. Elkin said. Roger was on the Zoning Board of Appeals. Jerry is the chair of the Planning Board. And what I like is the idea of not having somebody on the Planning Board on the Cape Cod Commission, so that there would be separation kind of not of church and state again. In other words,
Yeah, we got it.
I think that that's a good way to go, particularly because of Dick's larger interests.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Without Jerry here, we can't ask him how long he plans to continue on the planning board and ask him about his answer to that or assess his qualifications. And this is an indefinite term. So I would really respectfully request that we move to postpone acting on this till we have a chance to talk to both candidates.
I see.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second?
Discussion? With respect and liking for Jerry Parent, I am very aware of his capacities and who he is, because I worked with him for years on the planning board, and also I've known him, for a really pretty long time, and am in touch with him regularly. So that's the reason. If this was a completely unknown person to me, yes, by all means, I would want to interview
That's
that
not the
person too.
question.
That's not, we have a motion. I think
Yeah.
we've gone back and forth on this as a,
So there's a move to postpone that's been seconded. All in favor of postponing? Okay, I'll go with that, too. So, I'm sorry, Dick, do you
Okay.
mind? And opposed? Yep. Okay, so we'll just postpone and hear from both of them. And now we have the appointment of Bonnie Shepherd to the Local Comprehensive Planning Committee. And she was supposed to come last time. Bonnie's not here, right? I don't see her in the back or anything. So I think the question about her being appointed to this committee, Suzanne's here, right? Yes, there she is, was that she's not in town that often. Does memory serve me well?
They live in Cambridge.
Excuse me, I spoke with her today.
Okay, and why isn't she here?
Here are a few things. The last planning.
Why isn't she here? Not just a few things, but if you spoke with her today, why isn't she here?
That was one question I didn't ask her.
Okay.
However, there's some misinformation in here. There's some misinformation in here. I mean, I do know why she isn't here. It's because she was planning on being here, and her husband had a sudden medical situation,
Okay,
and they had
all
to
right,
go to
that's
a
okay.
meeting with a doctor in Boston, okay? She was actually planning on being here. But with respect for where is Ms. Grout?
She's
Yes,
standing at
there.
the
At the microphone.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So it turns out that there was a planning board that the chair canceled because there wasn't enough for their agenda that Bonnie didn't get to. But I'm looking for my notes here, which unfortunately I can't find. But
Well-
the point is that Bonnie absolutely is able to attend every meeting. And she didn't attend that one because it was canceled, okay? And can I look at,
So I'm just going to interrupt here for a second, because there isn't really anything on our, it's just this.
Oh, wait,
So
I know
no,
what it was.
I'm sorry.
I just remembered.
Make it
So
quick.
I said to her, were you not appointed by the planning board? And she said it came up, and they didn't feel they needed to vote. The chair said, yeah, you're good to go, and they didn't vote on it, but actually she was approved by consensus. So she did get their blessing, and if it isn't in the meeting, if a vote isn't in the meeting, that is what she said. The chair actually said at the meeting, looks good,
Okay, so Suzanne, can I hear from you, please?
My concern is not whether you appoint Bonnie Shepherd or another member of the planning board,
Right.
but that a member of the planning board is appointed to the committee. We have a short time frame to do a really important job. A lot of it has been done. Basically, what we'll be doing is taking the information already gathered and seeing how it relates to the newly promulgated Regional Comprehensive Plan.
So I would, so I know Bonnie, I like her, she seems good, but this is the second meeting, she hasn't appeared before, and Kathleen says she doesn't live in town. So I think it would be good that we hear from her personally, and I would possibly like to postpone this.
Yeah, Madam
And
Chair.
I know that you're under the wire, but maybe the planning board could appoint somebody else or something. I mean, we need to talk to her, in other words. She needs to commit.
Yeah, Madam Chair, my concern, well, first, I have to just make a quick comment. Suzanne, this may be the first time, to my knowledge, that someone has missed you being in the room, so our apologies.
I'm not easy to miss.
No. Second to that, Bonnie the reason we didn't appoint her first time around is we haven't had a conversation with her. She's a newly appointed person on the planning board. New I mean, has she been to 2 meetings of the planning board yet? I don't think so. So I'm reluctant to appoint her to yet another committee where she doesn't have a lot of,
Experience, yeah.
grass under her feet yet. So I'd like to postpone this appointment. I know that you're kind of, under the gun to get this moving, but without having a conversation, I don't feel we're doing our best here.
So may I have a motion? Would you like to make a motion to
Yeah,
postpone?
I move to postpone the appointment of Bonnie Shepherd to the local comprehensive planning committee until we can have a conversation with her.
Is there a second?
Second.
All
it's
in
not the
favor?
24th.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I need to correct a fact. She has not missed that many meetings. She has been
Okay,
to
well,
meetings.
we need to talk to her and get the facts.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay,
But that was
The planning board
misinformation.
hasn't met that much.
yeah.
She's,
Okay, so that's besides the point. We've moved to postpone. All in favor? Opposed? Okay. Use of town property, Mayo Beach from June 29th to September 10th. Is Della Springs here? Yes, you are.
Hi.
Any, okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Oops, that's an itch, not a waving of your hand.
No.
Okay. So I would like to ask, I'm looking for my notes. I know that you go away for the winter.
I do.
Right, so you're leaving probably soon, which is why your request is coming in
Exactly.
now.
Yeah.
Do you teach 7 days a week
I teach.
in general, with weather permitting?
I teach Tuesday and Thursday only.
Okay, that should be on the application, I think. And then, Suzanne, or Dan, when do we address our fees?
Usually late
November?
fall,
October,
probably
October, November.
November, December, somewhere in there.
So I know you did this. I would feel more comfortable. I know you go away, we can keep your application, but I would like to wait until we discuss updating our fees. And if you've left your email with us, we can let you know. But I want to hear from the rest of the board, too. Kathleen?
I think we can move to approve it on the condition that this fee may slightly increase.
Okay, yeah, we
it's-
spoke about it last
Yeah, I don't
year, and
think
I
every
understand
year.
that it might
You
increase.
know, there could be an increase in the fee, and if you're open-minded enough to accept that there may be an increase, I'm ready to move to approve your use.
That would be
of town
helpful. For me,
property.
part of the issue is not the fact that I live overseas, but it's that I need to set up my advertising. So in order to get in the chamber book and all of that,
And all of
I'd
that
like to know
stuff,
if
yeah,
I'm
gotcha.
What's
approved ahead of
the,
time.
do you know the cutoff date for getting into the chamber
I
book?
think it's in December.
I think so, too. Yeah, I think it's pretty, okay. So we'll make a note that this needs to be done.
Justine.
Justine has something, and then you can go, Helen.
Quick question, what time of day do you tend to teach, or does it depend on
8:30,
the
it's
tides?
always, no, the tide is actually, this morning we had a very long, narrow class. It's 8:30 to 9:45.
Great, so it's early in the
It's
morning.
early, yeah. It
Yeah,
doesn't
no, I
interfere
think
with
people-
camp or anything like that. There are very few cars in the parking lot, so,
Yeah, no, it's a great activity.
Yeah.
Seen great pictures.
great.
I've heard very good things about it.
Great, thank you.
Seen it on Facebook, so it's great. Helen?
Yeah, I was going to say, I appreciate you coming in so early.
Oh, good, thank
You know,
you.
because we get sort of this rush of people applying in the spring, and it kind of clogs up the agendas, and we need to address everybody. And so I would be ready to move on it, too. I agree with Kathleen, given
Okay.
that
All right,
we
so
may
make the
change the
motion.
fee.
I move to approve the use of Mayo Beach from June 29th to September 1st, 2020 by Della Spring per conditions, if any, as listed on the application form for a
Second.
fee that may be,
I want to say,
Change it,
yeah.
it's a typo for September 1st. It's September 10th. I usually go through.
okay, September, oh, right.
Oh, yeah,
It
one
says
is,
September 10th in
one
certain
one
places.
does
It says
say,
one.
the application says the 10th. Okay.
So make that,
And on the
Courtney,
agenda.
September 10th,
What?
2020?
Did he mess up? Yeah, it is September 10th, 2020. Is there a second?
Second.
You second it. All in favor? Thank you.
That's wonderful.
And Courtney, will you make a note wherever you make notes that we will email her when we update the fees?
Great,
That's
thank you
good?
so much.
All right, thanks. Have a good winter. And then we have the use of the Memorial Garden on September 1st from 4 to 6 by Trudy Vermeerhen. She's not here tonight, but I think we can approve this without her being here. Any comments or questions from the board?
Madam Chair, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. I move to approve the use of the Memorial Garden on September 1st from 4 to 6 p.m. by Trudy Vermeerhen, per conditions, if any, as listed on the application form.
Second?
All in favor? Good.
Thank you, Janet.
Thank you. And now we have the approval of the use of Great Pond on September 7th from 6 to 10 for the Swim for Life requested by Jay Critchley. Hold on. Oh, okay.
Jay's here.
I was wondering who you were. Take off your hat and I'll recognize you. Okay. Okay, questions from the boards, concerns from the board?
Just a point. The good news is, my only issue with this thought was, where are they going to park decently in case other people want to use Great Pond? And you're going to be using, no, it's in here. You're going to be using the senior center at a very good time. It's happening in the morning, which is opportune, and that's a great pond to do this in. No sharks.
Yep. Any other comments from the board? So I do, I'm just going to say, I do have concerns this time of year for the delicacy of our ponds. There has not been rain, there's not been upwelling. I don't know if there is a lot of rain when this is just next, it's a week from Sunday. No, it's a week from Saturday. That's when you get stuff washing into the ponds, and you have down 12-plus kayaks. Is that like a proven number? Yeah. You should go to the microphone, or even come up to the table.
First of all, thank you, Wellfleet, for being such a longtime supporter of the Swim for Life. As you know, many of our services that we support people in Wellfleet and all over the Cape. And also you've provided a lot of help for the swim. Your lifeguards, volunteers, swimmers, et cetera, have come to the swim. So, you know, I think we have a symbiotic relationship already. Of course, the environment was the initial impetus for the Swim for Life 31 years ago. It was about celebrating Provincetown Harbor at a time when a lot of beaches around New England were being closed because of debris. So we are very sensitive to the ponds, and you know we are planning to limit this to 50 swimmers and make it a small swim. There have been rumors going around that 400 swimmers in Provincetown were invading Great Pond.
Yeah, no,
I just want to say that's not true. So I don't know if that answers your question. Parking you were asking about?
Well, you
or-
also have kayakers down, 12-plus kayakers.
That might have been when we filled the application. I mean, again, I also appreciate that this is a last-minute thing. We were denied permits from the Park Service to use Long Point to cross the harbor in Provincetown because of endangered sharks and seals. I don't see 12, I don't think we need 12. Like, we might have 6 kayaks out there, a couple of lifeguards. That's how I see it.
So the lifeguards aren't swimming, they're protecting or they're
Right,
watching?
and as well as the kayakers.
Oh, they'd be watching them? They wouldn't be racing or whatever you do?
No, they would be watching, and the swim is around the perimeter of the pond, so it's close to shore
Okay.
to make it safe.
So also, I did want to know, you said that there's things that Swim for Life supports Wellfleet. How does it, I have to say, I've never heard of Swim for Life supporting Wellfleet.
You mean the services that are
Yeah, so-
provided? Oh,
yeah.
well, Outer Cape Health Services, the aid support group of Cape Cod, helping our women. The soup kitchen in Provincetown is open to the public from any town. And also a number of Thinkubator projects. We provide fiscal sponsorship for the Haiti project in Wellfleet. Cape
For the-
Cool.
for the what
Haiti
project?
project with Ellen LeBeau. Cape Cool.
Okay.
The Porch Fest, we are a fiscal sponsor of as well.
Okay, great. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I
Yes.
speak? I'd just like to say that 50-plus people in a pond in Wellfleet's pretty common. You get a long pond, there's 50-plus people all day, every day for 2 months. I don't have a problem with the impact on the pond. I feel like it's going to be mostly adults swimming at this point. They tend to be able to control their bladder a little better than young children, and I think the pond can handle it, personally.
Okay, other comments from the audience? Go ahead, please.
Hi, I live directly on Great Pond. I have
Say
a
your
house
name.
there.
Oh, yeah, please say your name.
Tim Sayre, and my house is at 111 Wiles Lane, directly on Great Pond. I have no problem with the people coming. This summer's been very light at the pond because there's basically no beach there. During a summer when there's lots of beach, there's more than 50 people there every day during the summer. 50 people, I don't believe, will impact this pond that much.
Okay, good to know.
I also would like to ask that the board waive the $110 fee that you're charging them because they, to me, are a nonprofit. So they shouldn't have to pay to use that pond. They're looking to use it for about 4 hours. They're providing everything they need. The town's not really providing anything other than use of it. Okay, so I'd like to ask that you waive the fee since they're nonprofit, since they also pour some money back into all the communities around here. And I personally don't have any problem with 50 people using that pond. In fact, I look forward to sitting out on my deck and watching them go by and yell at them, swim, swim, or something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Suzanne?
I won't belabor it, but I agree with Tim and with Jay that, and with Michael, that 50 people in that pond for a few hours on a September Saturday will be something will have no negative impact on the pond.
Okay, great. So just along with that, and I'm going to get to Kathleen, is will there be people there that will kind of monitoring the beach and people walking along the side and not tromping through the bushes and things like that? Not that there will be a lot of that. I'm sure everyone who swims in this is respectful of the environment, but just in case.
Well, there'll be no one on the shore around that's why we're having people swim around the shore in the kayaks, and the people will be monitored from the water. Also, we're not asking and promoting it as a place for a lot of people to come. It's mostly for the swimmers because of the nature of the pond and the access. So we're trying to leave a very small imprint on the pond.
Okay,
That's our
and there'll be
intention.
someone monitoring that
We'll
to a
have-
certain degree.
We will have a medical person there. We actually are looking for a couple of more volunteers, but we're going to have about 10 people. We'll have registration people. We'll have people handling clothes
Yeah.
check.
No, I'm just asking about somebody just making sure that people don't, that they use the stairs, they respect erosion and not creating it. I mean, not a lot of people, I don't think that it'll be an issue, but it's just something, it's a big concern.
Definitely, yes.
So that would be it. Kathleen, what did you want to say?
Yeah, Jay, originally, when this application came before us, I know it was last minute, and I know you've had to change things on the fly. I wasn't supportive of it. Our ponds are a very fragile ecosystem here in Wellfleet. But I do understand, you've been given some difficult challenges to continue the Swim for Life, and I'm willing to do that here in Wellfleet, providing that it doesn't become an over-the-top spectator event that creates more environmental erosion out on that pond, because it's very hilly and the terrain is difficult for even a very physically fit person. So I'd like everyone to be respectful of that and consider this a pilot. I don't want to say the town of Wellfleet's going to guarantee you this for the next 10 years. I can't say that right now, but I would consider this event a pilot for us.
Yes, I see that too.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board, concerns?
I have no concerns.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the use of, what do we want to do about waiving the fee?
You can put that in your motion,
Oh, okay.
if you want it or don't want it.
Quick comment, I think this is great you're doing this. I move to approve the use of Great Pond on September 7th from 6 to 10 a.m. by Jay Critchley as per the conditions, if any, as listed on the application form, for a fee of $110, which will be waived.
So, second.
No fee.
I'm just going to put that.
What did you say, Courtney?
I'm just going to finish it as on the application form, since you're not.
Okay.
Okay.
And I seconded it.
Okay. All
right, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
May you have good weather.
Keep them out of the bushes.
Yeah.
A lot of poison ivy in there. I think that'll
Yeah.
take care of itself.
Okay, moving on to business. Suzanne, you're up with the local comprehensive plan committee designation.
What I'm looking for tonight is to make our group, which was put together a few years ago under the direction of Assistant Town Administrator Brian Carlson. We were technically, I guess, or actually designated as a working group. The then town clerk, Joe Powers, declined to swear us in because he said we weren't a committee. But if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck and is subject to the open meeting law, we need to be a committee.
Mm-hmm.
And I would appreciate if you would just regularize what we've been doing by voting us to be a committee with a quorum of a stated number. I mean, a membership of a certain number so that the quorum is easy to determine.
Any questions, comments from the board? Of course.
I'm going to say something self-righteous and happy. Because our person on the comprehensive, yourself, included minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in it, I was really concerned about A, this not being a regular committee, right, getting sworn in, and B, that it was a crazy number, and C, that even though you had to comply with the open meeting law because you weren't sworn in, it just was too crummy, and I'm really glad this is happening. But I have a question. So we're not looking at the original charge. There was no charge,
Correct.
right?
There was no charge. There was no number. There was no creation of a committee.
Okay, so that stinks too. But what I want to know is, are some of these people representatives from the DPW, Community Services, Library, Housing Authority, Planning Board, School Committee, and Building Needs and Assessment Committee? Are any of those people on this group now?
They are.
Do they show up?
When they can. It was very busy in the summer, so we had spectacularly poor ability. And then I was in the position where technically I could have had a meeting if only 3 of us showed up, but I thought that was a bad decision, so that's why I've come to you, to bring a little structure to our group, and we can go forward.
And Madam Chair?
Yes.
So that means now your quorum will be 5. And I really appreciate your not meeting with all those brains on it. That's the reason to have a quorum, is so that you have enough brains on stuff. Thank you.
Brains?
Yes, there are 5 brains on this group.
Yeah, she thinks in
Okay.
terms of organs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seems
I move to
discriminating,
designate
but we'll get, yeah, okay. Yes,
the
go ahead.
local comprehensive plan working group as the local comprehensive planning committee with a membership of 9 members, including 1 representative from the DPW, Community Services, Library, Housing Authority, Planning Board, School Committee, Building Needs and Assessment Committee.
One question before we move on. If there was never a charge set originally, what's the charge now?
Yeah, we should make one at the next, we could make it now. Go ahead, Justina.
I don't know the history of why this particular,
Group.
yeah. And I don't want to nitpick it while you're here tonight to complete an action item. But there's not Shellfish Advisory, there's not 208, there's not wastewater. And maybe if there were, maybe you have some plans to invite those people in for brainstorming sessions or make, broaden
Wastewater would be really.
broaden the input from other critical areas.
If I could, in the 2 years since the group was brought together, we have hosted 4 large community brainstorming sessions. One on housing, one on shellfish, one on what people would like to see in general in the local comprehensive plan. And I can't remember the 4th one. But all those elements, though, I think it was wastewater and water. All those elements are key, but we don't necessarily, right now, what I'm looking for is to thank the people who've been dragging through this for 2 years and to let them finish their task and yet to also accommodate all the major subjects. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the new regional policy plan, but it has been reframed, and instead of doing topic by topic, they do it by areas in the town and what activities occur in those areas. So instead of having to pigeonhole each activity, you can now take, for instance, the downtown and what's happening in the downtown and the marina as a whole for all the activities. So I'm very excited about it, and so we have decided not to pigeonhole anybody and yet not to forget. So
That's a great answer, I got it.
So, can you come up with, I mean, we can approve this tonight, but can you come up with a charge to define it?
we would, right now, we're working on our mission statement, which
Okay,
dovetails
all right.
nicely with a charge. So I would say that for the charge is to get this in process and the existing paperwork and information that's been gathered into shape to be brought to town meeting in 2020.
Okay. Any other?
Yes, so counting the representatives on this, there are 7. You're the community services rep, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you need 2 more members.
We have 2 at-large members. We have Courtney Butler, who attends our meetings, and we also have Mac Hay.
So Mac Hay counts, but respectfully, and Courtney always counts.
I take the minutes, so
Yeah, but Courtney is not a voting member.
I don't vote, I take the minutes on
Yeah,
that
so
part.
you need 1 more member to make it 9. I just counted.
We can do 7 and 2 at large.
We actually have 2 at-large because Preservation Hall,
Yeah, Preservation Hall.
I'm blanking on her
Okay.
name.
Janet Lesniak.
Janet
Yeah.
comes from Pres Hall. She's one of our at-large, and Mac's the other at-large member.
Okay, but
So we
it's-
should amend my request to say, and 2 at-large members.
Madam Chair, respectfully, I think it should be 9. You should all be proper. You can ask anybody to join you if you want. You can include Janet Lesniak as an actual member, but my suggestion and my experience says, have 9 members. Don't have people who have this sort of quasi-status. Courtney being special because she takes the minutes, and that's a very important thing, and should not, in my opinion, if we can have staff actually taking minutes, not have that person being a voting member. It's one thing when you have the Shellfish Committee or something and they have to take their own minutes, but I'm all for the minutes being taken by somebody who's not a voting member.
Courtney has never voted. She's always been a structure and resource person for the group.
Madam Chair, through you.
Yes.
Sorry, did I cut you off, Helen?
That's okay.
What's Mac Hayes' official purpose for being on there?
At large is his title.
Well,
As a resident at large.
is he on a commit, well, but,
So, wait, I want to clarify it. So where are you guys getting the names of the people that are on this present committee?
They're the ones that have been involved in the working group since its inception.
Is that in this motion here? So, yep, that's what I thought. So Nancy Ray doesn't live here anymore. She certainly isn't in this anymore, right?
Not anymore. She
Yeah.
moved out of
So
town.
you have, and Brian Carlson isn't in it. So is Martha Gordon still in it?
Jennifer Wortkin from the library comes.
Okay. And she's listed here. Okay. So you have like a number of people. You're here. Martha Heavner, is she still
She
coming?
attends as a representative of the
Of the
commission,
seashore,
but she's
yeah.
not a voting member.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
No, I have
I just want to count how many people there are, because do you feel like 9 to me seems like a lot, especially if things are regionalized? Do you want 9 members? Didn't Helen suggest 9 members?
No, it says here 9.
I asked for 9 members because
Okay.
originally we sort of had 11 or 12 or 10, depending on the day. And I thought 9 was an appropriate number because the quorum is only 5 for that.
Okay, so you don't, all right, I just need to clarify that in my brain. Yes, Justina.
Madam Chair, through you, so wait a second. Mac Hayes been a member since the beginning as a member at large?
Correct.
Has he filed an appearance of conflict of interest form? I mean, this is really, I'm sorry to be so pushy here, but this is a prominent member of the business community, and this is a comprehensive plan for our community, and I have more questions about that.
Courtney has her hand up. Do you have an answer, Courtney?
I just want to say, so Mac did ask what we felt his role was, and because one of the large areas that the regional policy plan covers is businesses and industrialization and commerce and shellfish, he feels that as a business owner who also, has ties to the shellfish industry, he was a good representative. Nobody else has stepped up, honestly. I don't appear that there's a conflict of interest for Mac. I think he's a good standing member in the community, and he brings a lot of good input to the table as a business owner who has those ties and those knowledges. So
when you're a business owner in town, there's always potential conflict of interest.
then we wouldn't have any business owners represented on the committee when one of the major place types is commerce and looking at business development and economic development in town. We wouldn't be able to have anybody represented. I mean, so I think we've got a good thing going from what I'm sitting and seeing and learning a lot about this and the way that the Cape Cod Commission wants us to formulate this.
I think there's many members of the community that would feel the same way I
But
do.
wouldn't you bring up the same
I'm an
conflict of
elected
interest?
official, and I feel it's my responsibility to represent voters in town. Max certainly would represent the shellfish community in terms of the interests of wholesalers, but that's not there's also all the shellfishermen. I think it's a very complicated area. I think that I'm raising legitimate questions, and I'd be uncomfortable having them go unanswered tonight. I'm sure he's a very charming member and it's nothing against Mac personally.
Okay,
Madam
so
Chair?
Mike had his hand up first.
Yeah, I just, I'm not sure exactly why this wasn't a committee to begin with, like why it was just a working group or made as a working group. But going forward, I feel like it's pretty reasonable to expect a committee to have a charge before being formed, like an official charge that we're giving before we form the committee, and that then once it's a committee, we should probably have people come back and be appointed to that committee, not just automatically move from a working group to the committee. If we're forming an actual committee, not that we would refuse anyone who's on there necessarily, but I'm just talking in terms of process. Like, if we set up a committee, do we typically come up with a charge for that committee as a select board, or do we leave that to the committee to come up with a charge? I mean, there's a standard process, and I feel like this is kind of a strange situation where we're
morphing into it, yeah.
Morphing
Madam
one into the
Chair.
other,
I had my
and
hand up.
we need to follow a process, I think.
Helen had her hand up.
Yes, so I was going to say that too. Anybody that wants to be on this committee, which is now a new committee, right? In other words, we hope that a lot of people will come back onto it, but this is a whole new animal. So what happened with the Energy Committee, and has happened on numerous other committees, is when they get formed. So yes, people have to come and apply to us regularly. We need an application, and it would be nice to act on all of them at the same time, but that's up to the chair. The second thing is, the charge really comes a bit from the Cape Cod Commission's requirements and so forth, right? Which you know better than I do. And this committee, this group of people already sort of has a sense of it. So my suggestion is the right protocol would be appoint the new people, you come up with a charge, or come up with a charge before that, one of you, just draft something. And then you're good to go.
So I just want to clarify another time. The request is to designate local comprehensive planning committee with a membership of 9 members, including 1 from DPW, Community Services, Library, Housing Authority, Planning Board, School Committee, and Building Needs and Assessment. So that's 7 people. Who are the 2 other people going to be?
At large.
Those are just at large. Okay.
They could be anyone.
They could be anyone. But I
community.
agree with whoever said it, I think it was Justina, that I hope the shellfish and wastewater or water mitigation or something like that is kind of included. But I get it if you don't want it.
Not a question of what I want. I want the board, if you're more comfortable saying that instead of having 2 at-large members, you want to have someone that represents and knows about the wastewater and water challenges in Wellfleet, and also about the shellfish community. I want a settled number with a settled designation for each member, because I think that's a better way to get an overview of the community than to just have 7 people in the same mindset on one committee, or 9 people with the same mindset.
Yeah.
I would hate to see anybody come in brand new and have to be brought up to speed, because it's a lot.
It's already been
It's a
years.
lot, yeah.
Kathleen?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I think we're overcomplicating this and overthinking this.
Yep.
There's been a motion on the table with regard to Mr. DeVasto's comments. If he reads the mission statement, which was written 2 years ago, you'll find it very comparable, as Suzanne says, dovetails right into a charge. This is something that we've kind of dropped the ball on, and it's been a while since Brian Carlson's pushed us forward with this. I think that her request here tonight to designate this as a committee is a very valid one. There are no other individuals from the Shellfish Department or the Water Advisory Board that have stepped up to add to this conversation. Many of you might remember that Preservation Hall hosted a comprehensive study for the shellfishing industry, which brought in 100 people on an evening over the winter months. That information's all been documented and recorded. So, I mean, we just need to push this forward.
Madam Chair?
I agree, yes.
Given the importance, if this is going to be a meaningful plan, it's an important plan. And important points are being raised here. I was on the Water Commission when Brian Carlson was in charge of the plan. The water issues didn't even make it on the survey. and we weren't even aware a survey was going out. And the large community-based, big, huge working groups in the library, or I think they were here, they're good, but they're not the same thing as a member from the 208 or from the water system. We weren't reached out to on the water system, and these are, serious infrastructure costs, and now we have the 208 regulations coming down the pike from the state. So I don't really see, if this is a meaningful plan, why we can't have a little bit of time to get it right. And I think we've learned a lot from Suzanne tonight, and I move to postpone it until the rest of the questions can get answered.
Well,
They're not a lot of questions, but they're important.
I think that this has been postponed and postponed and postponed. So what we could do is we could make the motion to designate the local comprehensive plan working group as the local comprehensive planning committee, which is really what the request is, and to increase it to 9 members, and including these listed that I read off before, with 2 at large, and then from there they can come up with their charge and their members.
Madam Chair, I agree with what.
As a point of order, Kathleen did make that motion. She made the motion.
Yeah.
We just don't have a second yet on it.
May I hear what the motion is again, please?
Yes.
I move to designate the local comprehensive plan working group as the local comprehensive planning committee with a membership of 9 members, including 1 representative from the DPW, Community Services, Library, Housing Authority, Planning Board, School Committee, and the Building Needs and Assessment Committee.
Is there a second? Second, okay.
And to clarify something, this is 9 regular members, nobody at large. 9 regular members, 2 more need to be found. And to repeat something I said, in February of 2016, Wilson expressed concerns about the even number of people and the fact that there is no representative with a strong environmental background. And that's the kind of person you want on there who will have some sense of water issues, of shellfishing. And
Right.
the outreach that's been done is excellent, and I
Okay,
hope that the committee keeps doing that.
And someone from Shellfish Advisory, if you have a business person with interest in the shellfish. That's just fair.
Okay, yep, I think Suzanne takes note of that, right? Yes, Courtney.
I would just like to respectfully say that these meetings are open to the public, and I would invite the board to come and see the good work that we're doing and all of the interests that are being covered and addressed every time we meet. Jay Norton from DPW has a great environmental background and a great water background, as does, Martha Hevener from the Cape Cod Commission, and other people have addressed water, housing, everything. So they're being covered, and if you want to come and speak and bring up further issues, you're more than welcome to, and we'd love to hear them.
Good,
Yeah,
thank
just
you.
let us know.
Okay, has there been a second?
Yes, I seconded it.
Yep, okay.
I just have one more question.
we have
Sorry
to
to hammer the point, but are we going to be appointing people, reappointing people to this now committee? Because not all these people were appointed by the select board to begin with, correct?
Correct. That is
So
why
they
I'm
have
here.
to be appointed.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure
Clarify that,
that's the
good.
next step that's going to happen, is now we will be filling those positions
Yes.
by the board. Not that they won't be the same people that are on there. I'm not,
Okay, so
We
there's,
might lose a few who take the opportunity to
Yeah.
decamp.
so there's a motion on the table, it's been seconded. Any further discussion? No. Thank you. All in favor?
I don't feel that the motion's clear in terms of Mike's
Okay.
point. I am comfortable voting to give the comprehensive planning committee designation and the working titles of the members, but I would like the motion to include Mike DeVosto's point of process, that those members be appointed by the Board of Selectmen at
It's not
subsequent
necessary.
meeting.
Is it ne-
We do have a
At this
motion
point.
on the table in
Yeah.
a second.
And
so-
Madam
So wait, we have to vote on this motion. We really, I think we've all got it, so, all in fa,
Are we reappointing the members?
no, no, not tonight. Yeah, no, it's just changing the working group to the planning committee with a membership of 9 members. That's what we're doing tonight.
Madam Chair, may I answer Justina's question?
No, we're going to take a vote. We've got the
We've had
motion,
enough.
we've discussed it. All in favor of the motion? Okay, 3, all opposed?
Now
Okay,
may I
passes-
ask, now may-
Passes 3-2 against.
may I respond to Justina? Because we are the appointees, they have to come in and be appointed.
But
The
Janet's
other
saying
ones,
it's unnecessary, I mean, it's
Tonight,
unclear.
tonight is,
No.
tonight, this is all we're doing, is just voting on changing the committee name
We have
and
an
the amount.
opportunity to prove,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
because they all have to apply,
okay,
And be
right,
appointed.
regular.
yes, okay.
Sorry.
thank you.
Moving on. To business, there's, Suzanne is going to present a memorial for Arthur Medici at Newcomb Hollow.
Yes, thank you. As we're all aware, Arthur lost his life last September 15th at Newcomb Hollow, and the impact on the community is ongoing. And I know we need to move on and continue to live our lives, but we don't want to forget Arthur and what happened at Newcomb Hollow. So in the spring, I sat at a meeting where Chairman Reinhardt said it'd be really nice if the town did something. That's a quote. So I located and communicated with Arthur's aunt, who lives north of Boston, and she conveyed what I had said to her to his parents in Brazil, and it takes a while for this. And I had thought maybe like a rough-hewn boulder with his name, the dates, and maybe some words on it. And then it came back through his parents, they would like a Bible verse on it. So I came up with a Bible verse and sent that off, and then they said they had a different Bible verse. So then I talked to town council, who said she thought that the proposal passed all the necessary requirements for a municipality to be able to put a quote from a religious book in public town property. And then I talked to a few beachgoers, staff members, and they're concerned that if it's a rock, we'll have erosion, it'll roll into the ocean, nobody will ever see it again. And they have a number of people, maybe 4 or 5, which is, pretty good for Wellfleet when it's a positive comment, who have suggested a bench where people can sit and meditate and watch the water and remember Arthur. So I'm here tonight to say 2 things. Would you agree to a memorial? And if so, which would you prefer, the rock, which has its issues, or the bench, which has its issues? And I want this to be a very public process, and I want it to be respectful. So that's why I'm here tonight to talk to you about it.
Kathleen?
Yeah, I was waiting for this. First of all, it was a fatality, and you're right, we're all still feeling it. It's coming up on a year. I'll never forget the day. But in some ways, it was a gift in that it increased awareness of, of what's in the ocean, of our environment. I think that, we can all get a little la-di-da out there when we're on vacation, and, we live in the wild kingdom. Just look at the turkeys and what they're doing all over town. But my concern with a memorial, Suzanne, I have a few concerns, actually. One is, what will be the maintenance of the town going forward with regard to a memorial? And 2, I did receive a letter stating that somebody would prefer to have a bench. But this is one fatality. We may have others. Are we going to be in the habit of providing a memorial bench for every fatality that we have with regard to a shark encounter. Are we going to create a plaque on a stone that will be large enough to hold another's name? I don't, know what your thought is on that. I do know that even if it's a bench or a boulder, my suggestion would be that the DPW is going to have to remove it every winter.
If I could.
Yes, go ahead.
I hadn't planned on future fatalities, to tell you the truth. I did think that this memorial would be analogous to the ghost bike that's on Route 6, both in Eastham and Wellfleet, for the 2 young people who lost their lives on their bicycles on Route 6. The maintenance, the back and forth, I think if we're talking about making it a little less cumbersome for the DPW to manage, the bench would make more sense, because it's heavy enough to sit there all summer by itself, and then you can pick it up when the bad weather starts in October and put it away until the next spring. This would also prevent it from falling over the edge during the winter storms. A boulder would be more problematic. So those are practicalities. I'm really more concerned about the, do you want a memorial out there or not how we're going to do it if you decide we do.
Madam Chair.
Well, I think when I said last year that a memorial would be nice, I think there's, and I suggested a bunch. I really like the boulder idea too. That's very good. And, benches are always used and there's nothing to sit on, and you can't help but ponder life and infinity when you look out at the ocean. I think it's really, people love sitting at the ocean and looking out. So I think there's twofold with that, and I think with a bench that might have his name on it in a subconscious level, but also a very conscious level, as you go down to the beach, it may gently remind you to be careful, to be aware. So I think a bench is a good idea. I don't think either, we have how many benches in town? I don't see the DPW out there fixing them or repairing them or really doing much with them, and same with a boulder. And you could place them back, right? You don't have to place them on the edge.
Oh, no, not at the ocean side. That's the challenge, is the erosion, or potential erosion.
So Helen, did you have your hand up before or after Kathleen?
After. But
Okay.
Kathleen's, oh, no.
Yes, Madam Chair, through you to Ms. Grout-Thomas. Yeah, my worry is that, we're going to see like a dozen benches. And, I just don't want to go there. Because, that's conceivable going in the future. I'd rather see just one rock, with a good-sized bronze plaque on it, so that if another individual should come along and, whatever, we could add a name.
Well, I think we should cross that bridge when we get to it. Might not happen, it might happen.
Might want to plan ahead.
But,
My instinct
and
is
we
if
could
we
do it.
I'm sorry.
I want Helen to go next.
So I do feel that having some recognition of the fact that somebody has died from a shark attack is important. But this has been so widely publicized, and I'm not afraid of telling people about it, I'm a great fan of less is more here. There are already places where people sit. I go to Newcomb Hall a lot. There is the one table that we have allowed the person with the food truck. He asked for more. We said, there's one table, that's it. People sit there. People sit on the fence, and people sit on the dune. So if I had to go with anything, I'd say the small boulder, maybe right in the middle there with the dates. But I have to say, I have great respect and knowledge of other people's spiritual ways, their chosen religions and so forth. And somewhere in the world, this young man is buried, and his family has put whatever they wish to on his probably gravestone.
Yeah.
I really do not want any religious affiliation, no matter if it was mine or somebody else's, in a public place for any reason. Maybe the boulder, maybe with a plaque, but I would really go with nothing, because a bench, the benches, I find those benches very ugly, and it's true, people do like to sit in them, and sitting in them is a nice thing, and it could be more easily removed by the DPW. It's yet another job. But I really would rather have nothing there, given that there is such magnificent and tragic knowledge of this event. And there are going to be more events in one way or another sooner or later, and I hope it's later, and I hope there aren't any. But I'm not sure that having this young man's dates and his name at this beach is going to help with that at all.
Mike?
I'd like to throw something out there. I'd rather, I agree with Helen, less is more. I would say that if somebody raised money to put a bench in memorial to Arthur Medici at Newcomb Hollow, that I would approve that. But I don't know that the town should be expending its resources. There's people have fatalities on our highway all the time. People die of drug overdoses all the time. And we don't put memorials to them. The town doesn't expend that resource. And so I don't have a problem with a memorial being there, but I'd prefer that it came from the community who wishes it to be there. And I would approve a bench going there that said in memory of Arthur Medici or something like that. And I also agree with Helen. I'd prefer not to pay for a memorial that has a religious affiliation on it. Not everybody believes the same thing, and not to be insensitive to one person's death, but we have had tragedies in this town of all sorts, and
Okay.
that's how I
Justina?
feel about it.
Thank you.
He died, so I think his favorite verse is appropriate. How much are the benches?
The town benches, I'm not Jean McLaughlin, who has it in her
Right.
head.
I mean, to
Around
the-
$1,000.
I think it's 1,200, she said
Yeah.
today.
This was a tremendous tragedy reported worldwide. This was a shock to our community, and it's a bench for all of us, not just Arthur. And it's not very much money. There's benches all over town. It was his life that was lost, so I would like to see the verse that I believe, if I read this right, it was in his journal. There were 2 verses there. And it's a bench for the community, because it was all of our loss. And yes, there's losses and deaths in our community, but this had a particular kind of significance, and I think we can probably afford $1,000 to $1,500.
Okay, so let's hear from the audience. Please state your name.
Heather Doyle, Wellfleet. As we turn the page on a year since September 2018, Arthur was not from here, but he is part of us now. We know the family now. They come here to visit. It's not unusual, in fact, to come upon some friends and family. It just happened this past Sunday night. I would suggest that we remember the future. Where will we be? Not entirely to what Kathleen's saying, but we do have to think forward, and I would reflect that we'll be happy to have this in the future, whether we do or do not have future events. It would seem to me the public does want to have a memorial that's formal, and we've even seen some members of the public forming their own memorial. I'll leave the detail of that off here. But all of this is to be done to assure that we don't go back to sleep, to the comments earlier. So my thoughts would be, it's not unusual, as I said, for the friends and family to come visit. It would be nice to leave something that's very formal, tidy, official, permanent. Not my plan, but I'm willing to take on an endeavor. Cape Cod Ocean Community does have a kitty right now of $10,000. I'm happy to make some of that available for maintenance and/or parts of the bench as appropriate. Do we know if any benches have any Bible verses?
No.
Any benches have what?
In
A
town?
Bible verse?
No.
No.
Yeah, I don't know that that's right or wrong. If it's some provision in a law or something appropriate, I would respect that as well. But I do agree with what Justina said. It is a super religious family, and I would submit to you that that's enabled them to move forward through this process over the past year. Isaac Rocca's a young man. He does come here. He snuck by the Discovery Channel the other day. Shame on them. So it is something that would mean a lot to them and maybe just small for us. 5 years from now, if there were not anything there, perhaps we would feel that we made a mistake today. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Maggie Flanagan. I live in Wellfleet. My son's a surfer. And he was also a dear friend of Kevin Fitzgerald, whom we renamed the skate park after in honor of Kevin, which is a town skate park. And the bench is, this really touches me deeply. It's important. It's a spot where I can sit up atop the dune when my son's in the water because I can't stop him from going in, to keep an eye, because that is the best view, the higher you can be when you're watching. And I hope that, every surfer, when they pass by, are reminded when they see Arthur's name and dates on that bench of the danger that's out there. It's not going to stop them, but it is a reminder. And I don't see anything wrong with the town putting a bench there. If this was a child from Wellfleet that this happened to, I don't think we'd be having this discussion. I think that we would be moving to do this. Thank you.
Good, thank you.
With respect to
Oh,
the
yeah,
fact
to
that
state your name, Gail, yep.
Oh, Gail Ferguson. I don't think it matters that the verse comes from the Bible. It could come from Walt Whitman. What's important is that the verse is important to the family. It might have been important to Arthur, and I'm hoping that you can see it in that way.
Thank you.
Hi, Larry Horowitz, Wellfleet. I wasn't planning on commenting, but I do have an idea. I do feel that it would be great to have some kind of memorial that would sort of save lives from sharks. And one thing I noticed when I was on the beach, when there was a shark alert and the lifeguard came over with a whistle, I didn't really hear the whistle and I couldn't see the flag. And it occurs to me that a flagpole with a plaque, with the shark flag up, would be very, very helpful, because if anybody had any inkling there was a problem on the beach, they could just look up at the flagpole, because you can't really see the flag on the lifeguard chair very well. And that would be sort of useful, and it would almost be an honor for him to save lives maybe in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Good idea. I don't know how well the flagpole would last on the beach.
I did look at flagpoles. The removable ones are problematic. The permanent ones, to put it far enough back from the eroding edge of the dune, might also render it invisible to the people on the beach, who are the ones that need to see it. Our current flags and lifeguard stands were a good try, but they're far too small. I've already spec'd out bigger ones for next year so people can see them. And I'm still looking for a removable flagpole that can be put in the sand next to the stand each day. So I agree with Mr. Horowitz. It was a good start, but it was not a good execution. So,
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Hi, I'm Drew Taylor, and I'm fairly close with the Medici family and Isaac Roach's family. And I think the discussion was good tonight. I like the direction that Justina's going. As Heather mentioned, they're a deeply religious family, and their deep religious beliefs have got them through what has happened. The fact that the town reached out to them and had conversation, I'm not sure exactly how it went, but just my conversations with Marissa, I think it's so very important to include the one thing that the family asks is to include that verse. And I know the verse is John 11:25, and it's very appropriate. to Arthur. It's the wish of his family. And Kathleen?
Are you done?
Oh, I didn't know if Kathleen had a question.
Oh, you have a question for him, okay.
Actually, I'm going to...
Well, wait, no, let him finish then.
Okay.
Please.
Yes, outside of that, I just feel that, this isn't only our loss, but a family has lost a son, a nephew, a fiance, and their wish is that this Bible verse is included if, in fact, Wellfleet does come through with the memorial.
Thank you. Kathleen?
So I'll make a point here that we have a notation from our law representative. It may not be kosher for a municipality to install a memorial with a particular Bible verse on it. It may be something we cannot honor legally as a municipality. Should a private individual want to provide this memorial or bench, they would be able to do that. A town-sponsored memorial may not legally be able to put a Bible verse on a memorial. So I just want to make that clarification. We do have a note from town council that that question has yet to be answered. I think the direction we are going in with regard to the board is definitely approving a memorial, and it looks like it's going to be a bench, not a rock or a flagpole, to answer Suzanne's questions. I don't know.
That may be. So why don't we decide tonight, one, if we want to do a memorial, two, if we want to do a bench or a rock, and three, we can, so there's also, it's called the lemon test, where there's three examples of, did the state have a secular purpose in posting the speech? Was the primary effect of the action to advance or promote religion? And was there excessive entanglement between government and religion in the given activity? And I don't see that this plaque with this verse does that at all. And the town council says that under these tests, I think the proposed memorial is probably fine, in her opinion.
But she hasn't seen the verse.
Yes, she has.
No, she says she hasn't seen it yet.
Did she not see it?
No.
I think she did. So I Googled the verse, and, there's so many interpretations of the different words. It's funny, because I don't have issues with the verse. I have issues with him saying he is the maker. But we're not going to go there tonight.
Madam Chair?
So I think the thing that we should decide is those three things I just said, the bench, the rock, and I think the verse is nice, and I think that as honoring the family is important. So are you going to make a comment or a motion?
I'm going to say something new. In 10 years, in 5 years, in 2 years, even next year, unless we put why this memorial is there somewhere on whatever we decide to have there, nobody's going to get it. They're just going to say, somebody died here, right? And somebody did die there. But there needs to be a simple sentence saying how that person died and why there's a memorial there, because somebody could die of a heart attack, and why do they not have a memorial? It's complicated.
Well, Helen, you said it
I'd
earlier.
yeah.
This has been all covered by the media. Everybody knows what happened there.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to move on from it, too. I hear what you're saying. I don't think you do need an explanation, to be honest. I think that people can ponder why and ask why. And, yeah. Were you going to say something, Mike?
One more thing, yeah.
Okay.
I'm in favor of having a memorial there. I just want to reiterate that I'd prefer that the loving community of people who support Arthur Medici donate the bench and memorial than the taxpayers pay for it. in a way, I feel like it sets a sort of precedent that we should be memorializing people. And you know, I'm not trying to be insensitive. That's how I feel, and that's why I'll vote the way I vote. So.
No, so I think that's
Good point.
a good point. So could I have a motion like to say, I move to authorize the installation of a memorial bench, right? Could that be the, are we in favor of having something, are we in favor of having a bench?
Yes.
Yes.
I would prefer a rock, but here's the main thing, that it's clear in the motion that we would entertain somebody's proposal for it. You see what I mean? In
Yeah.
other words, we're not saying, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going
Okay,
to
so
say,
I want to find out first, how many people want a bench? Let's just take it informal. Bench, rock, raise your hand for bench. Bench, we like benches, okay.
rock.
Okay.
Sorry,
Rock,
it's
rock.
like the evening
rock,
is going.
scissors.
Yeah.
You get a rock, Helen.
So I'm gonna comment on the bench. You said people can sit on the beach, they can sit at the table with the food truck, they can sit on the fence. We're all getting old here. I don't sit on the beach on the rocks, and I want a nice comfortable, sitting on those fences is not that comfortable either.
Padded
You
bench.
lean on them, so I'm all for a bench. Yes, you may say something and then we're gonna vote.
Oh, hi, thank you very much. My name is Rich Littauer, Truro resident, and I'm a part of the surfing community. And this is just a wonderful thing for the surfing community that we have. It's been really hurt through this, to recognize one of their own. The paddle that we had is world news. This is not just one person. It was just in the New York Times. This is a major event
Yeah.
with Arthur.
Yeah,
And it's also a spiritual event.
yeah.
And it really is, in many, many ways, and many people need healing. And this is with the verse is something people can contemplate. I would like to suggest, since you can't decide a rock or a bench, why not both? You know, we can find some money to do it, and you can have the rock near the bench, and people can,
Pick.
some people like
Yeah,
sitting on the earth on a
we'll,
rock.
we'll keep it in mind. There's always the future.
His friend was Rocco.
Yeah. Was it really?
Yes. Yes. So let's make this fun, a celebration of his life, you know, and what he did for us is a gift. And besides, this, by the county, is Shark Awareness Month. So what a
Yeah.
great thing to approve it this month
Yeah.
as an act of the town.
Thank you.
So thank you.
And I agree. I think the surfing community has been amazing and really shown their love this whole time. Yes.
Madam Chair, what I would recommend, based on your comments and others' comments, is that we change the motion to say that you move to authorize the installation of a memorial bench for Arthur Medici at Newcomb Hollow Beach. And I'm pretty sure the community will raise the funds that are required to put this there for him.
Yeah, and make a choice. Good. Everybody like that motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
That doesn't say we're paying for it. It just
Right.
says it can go
Right.
there.
No, it's not-
Okay,
yeah, it
thank
didn't
you.
say that.
Right.
all right, so what he said, any second?
Second.
Second.
I'm not allowed to make a motion.
I-
so
I
somebody
know,
needs to
I
do the
know.
I'm
first.
All right,
confused.
so-
Question about the motion. After what Dan said, are we implying that if funds don't get raised, there will be no bench?
We're
'Cause-
not implying anything.
Okay.
No.
We're
Right.
assuming there will be funds raised. Heather just said she would give money from her
Okay,
funds, so,
okay.
and,
So I'll make the motion.
thank you.
I move to authorize the installation of a memorial for Arthur Medici at Newcomb Hollow Beach.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so moving on to the proclamation of Suicide Awareness Prevention Week. Is anyone here for that or wants to say anything? I believe this is the group that puts out the purple flags at the Rotary and purple flags places. And as the proclamation says, that it's to raise awareness. I'm going to read what I want to read. So it decreases, so this awareness and message of hope decreases the stigma that surrounds suicide. And we increase the likelihood of someone reaching out for help. So any discussion?
No, but we have to read the proclamation.
Can I
Okay,
read it?
would you, Kathleen wants to read it?
Proclamation Suicide Prevention Week. Whereas in the United States, one person dies by suicide every 12 minutes, and 121 people die by suicide each day, and whereas 20 veterans die by suicide each day, and whereas suicide is the second leading cause of death for Massachusetts residents between the ages of 15 and 44, and the suicide rate on Cape and the islands is 1.4 times higher than the state average, and whereas suicide is a tragic and disruptive event for families and communities, it is estimated that annually there are 6.3 million suicide loss survivors who have lost a loved one to suicide, and whereas suicide is a public health issue and a community concern, through increased education and awareness of this issue, a greater number of suicides can be prevented. Therefore, we do hereby officially designate the week of September 8th through the 14th, 2019, as Suicide Prevention Week in the town of Wellfleet, Mass.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Sorry.
So moving on to tax inserts. These are notifications, one from the Housing Authority, one from the Taxation Aid Committee, and one for the Cemetery Commission that get inserted into our tax bills to remind people or ask people to donate. Any questions or comments from the board?
No.
Thank you, Suzanne, for all your work. I see you leaving.
Yes. And Suzanne, I see you leaving too, and I'm sorry I didn't see you earlier.
It's okay. Okay. So the first one is for the audience. The first one is for the Wellfleet Buy-Down Program, and I hope everybody knows by now that this is money that their CPA funds that go towards helping a qualified person do a down payment on a house, fix it up. The second one is for the Wellfleet Taxation Aid Fund, and this is for just people who are either, actually I should read this because it's good for everyone to know this. If you're over the age of 55 or are disabled without regard to age and have an annual income of less than $40,000 for an individual or $55,000 for a household, and you need assistance with your tax bill, you can apply for this taxation aid. And the first one is for the Wellfleet Cemeteries Need Your Help. I am really surprised that they do lawn mowing and everything, and they don't really have, they have a very limited budget. So this would ask for donations to the Cemetery Commission. Roads and mowing, yeah, they don't even do the roads. DPW doesn't even do the roads, that the Cemetery Commission will take care of that. Not many of you know that I am a real cemetery aficionado. I like cemeteries. So, yeah.
More information than we needed tonight.
Well, yeah.
Never too much.
So anyhow, are there any questions or comments from the audience? I mean, from the
Question.
board?
Does this use up our space for the next tax bill?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay, just to be clear.
Any questions or comments from the board? I think everybody's in favor of this, aren't we? We don't need any discussion. Okay, may I have 3 motions?
I move to approve the housing.
Yes, what, did you say something?
I was just going to say you could do this all as one. if
Okay,
you
yeah.
wanted to.
I
Yes.
move to approve the Housing Authority 2019 tax bill insert, the Taxation Aid Committee 2019 tax bill insert, and the Cemetery Commission 2019 tax bill insert.
Is there a
Second.
second? All
Second.
all in favor? Great, thank you. And approval of pilot agreement for Coles Neck Solar.
If
You know,
I can
I'm just going to, yeah, I was going to say, I don't even know if we need to discuss it.
If I can introduce this, this is already.
maybe we do need to discuss it.
You've
Yes.
already approved this?
Yeah.
As part of your lease agreement. This just formalizes the pilot agreement, the payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
So we've just taken the information that was in the lease and then transferred it to a separate standalone pilot agreement.
And this is for the audience, the solar array that's going on the landfill area. Any questions or comments from the board? Kathleen?
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Hort, does this officially complete this process for this?
The one thing that we'll come back to you with yet is that we have to have an easement from Eversource. And that's the only thing that you'll have to approve. But otherwise, everything is done.
And you're hopeful that that easement comes to us soon, or?
Yes. I just got an email today that it's been presented to Eversource. Is this the correct wording for what you need? Hopefully, it'll be on your next meeting.
Thank you for
Okay,
that
great.
information.
This is another long project. Yes, Kathleen,
Yeah,
what's her
whoever,
name,
yeah,
Helen?
really.
2 hours
Me,
later.
on the right, it doesn't matter. Through you to the Chair of the Energy and Climate Change Committee. Have you seen this document, and Mr. Elkin, did it look okay to you?
You have to get to the mic.
Sorry to make you stand up.
The fee is based on a formula that's used statewide that's $12.50 per megawatt of capacity, as opposed to real estate taxes, which are based on the value of the property. It's a squeeze for most towns, because in most towns, the average is $12.10 per thousand. It's a bargain for Wellfleet. It's more than we would get if we were actually charging property taxes.
Right.
And the property value declines over the course of 20 years to be worth zero at the end of 20 years, maybe even negative, because it needs to be removed, whereas this stays constant. So it's a good deal for Wellfleet.
Good, thank you. Any other questions from the audience, from the board?
One more question. This was, I'm assuming, vetted by council, yes? Yes.
Yeah, this has been around. Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the agreement and authorize the town administrator to sign it, and this is for the approval of the pilot agreement, Coles Neck Solar.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. Courtney, if you didn't catch that. Okay, all right, on to the Hilton discussion. Let me get my notes.
And Madam Chair, while you're doing that, Mike and I will be recusing. And I just want to say briefly, because I can't do anything to further this transaction anyway until a later stage, I sincerely apologize for any of the concerns and difficulties that may have come up because of anything I personally have done. Many people had to do with this project, but I'm just speaking for myself. And I will be able to address it at a later date in more detail.
I just have one point before I recuse myself also. I just want to remind everyone, including the newspapers, that this matter took place under the last select board, and I was not present for any of that. There was a quorum also because Jerry Hauk was the select board member. So I just would like to remind the newspapers and everyone else in the audience that I did not have any role in the Hilda purchase. But as of now, I still have to recuse myself. Thank you.
Thank
And I'm
you.
going to use the restroom, so. have
All
fun.
right, okay. You can watch the video. All right. So I'm just going to read a brief statement about, I'm just going to read a brief statement. So as chair of the Select Board, I respectfully acknowledge concerns of the public. It took time talking with people and town council. I hope to put your concerns to rest. In hindsight, this could have been handled differently. The process was rushed and may have seemed chaotic, but to me, it wasn't. There was a lot of work, time, and consideration on everyone's part that went into presenting this to town meeting. It is very important for the town to own this property. Protection of the shellfish industry, protection of the beach and the environment, and access rights. New pressures from outside money became a consideration. There is an appraisal and a survey being worked on presently. Myself and town administrator have consulted with town council at length regarding the conflict of interest law. I was surprised to learn that Helen Miranda Wilson was the beneficent donor. I don't believe there was any malintention, nor do I think anyone else on the board or the public would think that. She should have known to recuse herself. She should have filed a disclosure. Ms. Wilson did consult a lawyer twice, and they did not tell her that it was necessary to recuse, and that is mainly because there was no financial benefit for her. Taxes, etc., what do I want to say, the donation coming off your tax return did not equal the donation. Ms. Wilson, okay, according to town council, there was a technical violation, not a finding of violation. In no way is there a financial gain. An ethics commission would most likely find that the benefit to the town outweighs the issue that arose. Town voters approved the purchase at town meeting and at the voters' box by a strong majority. At Select Board's meeting in July, I asked the public to send in questions. We did not receive any additional comments or concerns. As to Justina Carlson's recusing herself, she simply did not want to give the slightest appearance of conflict. She did not have to. In Massachusetts, there is no recognition of a common law marriage. When she voted on the purchase and sale agreement, it was as a rule of necessity, meaning that the board needed her vote. I thank you for your patience, and I want to move on and appreciate the gift of nature to our town. And if there's a few questions or comments, I'll take them, but hearing none, that's, do you have a question? So you have to get up, excuse me, but you have to get up and go to the microphone, please.
Is the deal done?
Well, the purchase and sale agreement has been signed, but it's pending the findings of the survey and the appraisal, but mainly the survey, right?
Yes.
And that's going to be done around Labor Day, which is
Yes.
darn
The closing of the
soon.
property will happen September 20th at the latest, and then the deal will completely be finished.
I just found out about it recently.
Talk into the microphone, please,
I
Warren.
just found out about it recently, got up here recently. I don't live here year-round, but in my opinion, I have some issues with it. I feel it benefits just one class of people, a small class, and it doesn't benefit everybody else. In fact, it's a hindrance because our taxes would be going up, which is a big concern these days because taxes all around are going up. And it's
So
getting
I just
harder and
want to
harder
add,
live.
I will just cut you off
Okay.
because it really is too late to comment. And you can look at all of our old meetings, you can review all the selectmen's meetings, you can review the forum meetings, and you can review town meeting, and it benefits way more than a select few people. It benefits the entire town. As I said, we are buying 250-ish acres, protecting it, protecting the rights to the beach. If a private entity bought it, they could cut off access to the beach. We are having a 5-acre, preserving a 5-acre salt marsh. I believe it's 5 acre. I have fortunately forgotten all the numbers. 5 acres of salt marsh, which is home to sea turtles, which also proves to the National Heritage and Endangered Species people that we are protecting sea turtles, which then allows us to have more credit when it comes to dredging. We're preserving a whole beach and a waterway, so there is way more than just a few people. And it increases one of our main economies, so. But you can look at all the meetings or read all the minutes, and you'll find all your questions answered. It's been very thorough.
I have other comments.
Madam Chair,
But I
through
guess
you-
I'm not allowed to make
If
them.
you have comments, you can make a comment, but if there are questions about it,
Well, I guess my question is, the water temperature in the bay was 82 degrees this summer. At what point is the water temperature too hot to cultivate aquaculture oysters?
well, then we'll just go swimming on the beach.
Madam Chair, through you.
You know, I mean, who knows? Who knows? That's hypothetical.
Well, it has gone up. The average temperature is 77. Now it's 82. That's 5 degrees warmer. New York City has just...
Okay, so,
Ma-
again, this, yeah,
Madam
go
Chair,
ahead.
through you, I'm
Yeah, it's point of order.
appreciate your enthusiasm to coming to speak with us tonight, but as you said, you just found out about the issue, and it did go through our town meeting and ballot box process, and as elected officials, it is our job to honor the will of the voter, and there are many, the Select Board has bent over backwards pending the vote of our voters to listen to and exhaustively investigate any comments that came from a group that had concerns, and at this point, it has been voted on by the town of Wellfleet, so it really is too late to come and ask for the reconsideration of the issue. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm just exceedingly disappointed.
Jan had her hand up.
Just quickly, you mentioned the rule of necessity, and I just wanted to point out that the state has a very specific process that a board or committee has to follow before you can invoke the rule of
A
necessity.
border committee?
Board or committee.
Oh, board or committee.
Before you can invoke the rule of necessity, and they recently updated that and revised that, so you might want to take a look at it.
Town council was the one that suggested it, I believe, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Madam Chair, through you. When the Hilda issue came about, my first action was to call the State Ethics Commission. The second action of mine was to sit down with the town clerk. I never had a legal conflict of interest, but I do have my own sense of morality and the importance of the issue to the town, and I recused myself so there'd be no muddying of the waters, and I knew that I was acting according to my own ethics. After the issue of Hilda had been deliberated and voted upon by the Board of Selectmen, I was part of none of that. I was recused the whole time. I was asked to step in and sign the purchase of sale. I didn't need a rule of necessity in order for that to be legal. And in fact, I have a duty to serve, and I would have been in violation of my duty to serve. I also sought a written up, an additional legal opinion from council. But I understand that the last time I recused, when I was out of the room, someone mentioned that I had a common law marriage, which doesn't exist in the state of Massachusetts. And to my sense of common sense, at that point, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel, you know? The Select Board has bent over backwards to be responsive to the citizens that have problems with this. And I feel I have made every effort to operate to the highest of ethical standards.
Thank you. Yes, please go to the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Ed Miller. I believe you said that during your statement that during the process, new pressures from outside money became a consideration. What exactly were those pressures, and what exactly was the outside money that you were referring to?
I want to get my statement right in front of me because I didn't say new. So two different kinds of pressures. So the Mass Shellfish Initiative has been aware and bringing to our attention that in Duxbury, private business people bought their shellfish area.
So you're talking about private business people buying shellfish
possibly buying
flats
it.
in Duxbury?
Possibly buying it have you been to any of the MSI meetings? You must have been, right? To the Shellfish Initiative meetings?
Well, for example, there were a number of statements made about the Chinese coming in to buy shellfish flats during the discussions of the Hidilta purchase. Is that what you're referring to?
I could be. I don't remember hearing Chinese, but I know that the West Coast is having problems with their shellfish, so that they're coming in and buying. And also, there could be a contingency of homeowners that would want to have bought it, which then could block access to the beach and the shellfishing. So those were two concerns. Whether they were real or not, we'll never know at this point, but they were serious concerns. Anyone else? Yes.
Bob Arosis, Wellfleet resident. I just want a clarification on, was the purchase and sale amended to include an appraisal? Just a point of order and point of clarification.
No, it was not.
It was added?
No, it was not.
So I'm confused.
We're getting an appraisal because
Okay.
people wanted it, but it is not in the purchase and sale. Only
Okay,
the
but you're doing
surveys, only the surveys and the
Just not
purchase and sale.
required in the legal document.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, just point of clarification.
Okay, thanks. Okay, anyone else? All right, thank you. On to Select Board's goals. Oh, yeah, yeah, I was. Thank you for remembering. Yeah, I know. This goes there.
When you get a chance, can I get a copy of your statement?
Yes, yeah, I don't know why I didn't print them out. I wanted to print them out.
Thank you.
Where'd I put it?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now what?
Selectmen's goals.
Okay, hello, Madam Chair. Can I say something?
Speak into your microphone better, please.
Yes, so Select Board goals, here's the thing. In our packets, we only got goals from 3 people, and I would like to wait until we get goals from everybody, until, I get a chance to read everybody's goals. So could we pass on this one, please?
Yeah, Madam Chair, through you to Courtney, wasn't the date for this August the 6th?
There was a due date, yep, of August 6th of when they were supposed to be due to me by.
I sent mine in right away.
Same?
So I think just.
Same.
I missed the due
Justina
date.
And Michael haven't. You already what?
If not to call anybody out, but if Justina and Michael could get their goals into us, like within the next week or so, then we'll have them ready for the next meeting.
Yep.
I won't be here that next meeting, that's why I'm making the comment.
Ah,
Yeah.
Well, I looked at a lot of our old goals, and we all have similar ones, and this isn't anything written in stone. We can change it and add more as the
Okay,
year
point
goes
made,
on.
Janet.
But yes, please, so the reason we do goals annually is because it gives direction to the town administrator as to what our priorities are. All right. Okay, so open meeting law complaints filed by Judah Hearn. We're going to discuss, deliberate, and take appropriate actions to respond. Anybody want to start with comments?
yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So,
Can I interrupt you before you get going on this? So there are 2 complaints here, one dated August 14th, one dated August 16th. The responses that I've handed out to you were written by town council that would go to the Office of the Attorney General and with a copy to the complainant. So what we're looking for here tonight is if you're okay with what's been presented to you as a response, then you would authorize me to sign these and send those in.
couple things.
Yes.
So,
And did you read Dan's?
I read everything.
What we got,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. And I read it more than once. So there are a couple things. One is in the letter about the Well, they're both the August 14th letter from Ms. Ahern. Down at the bottom in that paragraph, and I spoke with the town administrator about it, we need to change this. A copy of the posting is available on the town's website online. I looked it up. It isn't. And in fact, there was a posting put in, and that should be replaced, right? Dan, that's what we
That's
spoke
correct.
about.
Yes.
So that's the one thing in here. I liked both letters, but that's the one thing in here that should be changed, in my opinion, because it's, it's not valid.
What you could do is you could authorize me to sign the letter of August 16th and the letter of August 14th as amended, and we would change that web address to
Yeah.
correct it.
In
So
other
would
words,
you read what you want changed again, please?
okay, so that meeting was posted late. It's in the paragraph down at the bottom of the August 14th letter, addressing the August 14th letter from Ms. Ahern, okay, and what we got tonight at the table. And what's going to go in there instead of what's there is when the town administrator's office was able to post it, which was late, but it was done in good faith, and it was put on the town website. The minute the confusion, or let's say the minute it was straightened out, it was posted, and
Right.
it was talked about subsequently. So I'm good with the letters, but now I'd like to say something about the document that was submitted to the open meeting law people, the state. There are a number of things here, and there's some accusations. They're not questions. There's a question down at the bottom in the note. What action do you want the public body to take in response to your complaint? There is a question there, but in the allegations, description of alleged violation, there is a lot of conjecture. In other words, there are things that I was there, I had my brain on it, I cared about it. There are some accusations which are based on somebody's opinion, not actual facts. And that bothered me a lot. And also, once again, a good, sharp question, an investigative question, should always be welcomed and appreciated, even if, like, it exposes one to terrible things about oneself. But when you go down to the question in the box, what action do you want the public body to take in response to your complaint? The first question is, I want to know who's responsible for not posting this meeting. And we addressed this a couple of times in a couple of different meetings. And what was clarified was that there was confusion about who should post it. And it's the kind of thing that doesn't happen very often, and in my experience with this board, hasn't really happened before. We all care about this, as does the administrative office. And it somehow didn't happen because it was somewhat unclear about who should do it, and it didn't happen. And the minute we saw that it didn't happen, something was posted. And also, having done some of this myself, there was a lot of word put out about the meeting right away by the Shellfish Department, by me to my private listserv, just by everybody in general. And there was a very good attendance at this information meeting about the 208 plan. So that's all I have to say about it. But the question was answered, and it was answered publicly.
Janet?
Yes, Kathleen.
Two complaints have been filed with regard to a breach of open meeting law, which I take very seriously. I think the whole board does take it very seriously. It goes to public trust, and it goes to transparency. But I want to make, and put this on the record, that while Judah Hearn publicly made this complaint with regard to the meeting that Helen's saying got posted, what was posted late, or who was posting it, 4 other individuals also approached me with the same complaint. Ms. Ahern oftentimes is very argumentative and difficult, and she does herself a disservice because she's very intelligent. What I'd like to say is that this was sloppy, and we should do better than this. Meetings need to be posted in advance and with notice. This was a pretty big deal. We had some pretty big people in the room that day explaining the 208 plan to us. And they took time to drive down from Boston that day. So I think the people that felt left out are righteous to be egregious about it. So that's my comments, Janet.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have comments? Yes.
Yes, I agree with Kathleen, and I think it's great that people want to be involved. I think one of the problems was that it was a one-off meeting, so the routine of doing it probably wasn't as easy for us to fall back on. But I agree with Kathleen, it's our job to make the public aware of meetings, particularly this one was an important meeting, but fortunately it still was well attended.
So just to clarify, did you have any, yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
Mike.
just
Go
one
ahead.
comment. I was under the impression that the health department sort of organized the meeting, and that's what it was being posted through. I'm not sure the process of posting meetings still. I'm not totally up to speed on that, but I don't think clearly it was not intentional. And I think
agree,
that the complaint sort of like points the finger towards intent, and I don't think that that's a valid point to make. I don't think that it was intentional or for any malicious reason. So.
Yeah, I'll just clarify for the audience that this was a meeting that we needed to clarify what the 208 process was, what was going on with wastewater, and that the Board of Health did schedule the meeting. I'll say at the top of my head, there were eight people from the state, 8 people from the
6.
Only 6? Okay, 6 people, and she had to coordinate getting them all together for one meeting. And it was going to be an informational meeting. It was never a selectmen's meeting. It was an informational meeting. And so there was shorter notice. I really don't remember when we were notified, but I know it came together quickly. And I think, yeah, just posting it as a select person's meeting fell through the cracks because it wasn't our meeting, and we didn't even discuss who all was going. You know, it was an informational session. It was very, very good. A number of people came to the meeting, and it was very informative. And we did not discuss anything. We did not confer. I think a couple questions were asked of the people who knew what was going on. Like Horsley Witten, who's our doing our research for the 208 plan, and some Millie from the state. I don't remember her last name. But again, it was not, there was no discussion, questions asked.
But Janet, I did know a month in advance.
No, you didn't know a month in advance
Hillary
about
had
this.
informed me a month in advance.
Well,
What
then you
meeting?
should have posted the meeting. I'm only kidding, sorry.
Yeah.
I can't joke about these things, and yet I love brevity. Okay, I don't remember that, but
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'd like to point out that we do diligence. The Shellfish Advisory Board had a very heavily attended meeting about MSI, the Massachusetts Shellfish Initiative. And the board was aware that we were going to go. It wasn't our meeting. And we posted it for us too, right? In other words, we take the extra trouble. I didn't know that far ahead of time. And it was simply that when we were delegating Hillary, saying that we wanted to meet, we listed a whole bunch of people we wanted to meet with on this issue, and that was a request that came from out of the shellfishing community wanted us to meet all together, right, with people from different groups. And it came up at a select board work meeting, and Hillary was there, and it was an excellent meeting. And this posting fell through the cracks somehow. It was inadvertent. It was not premeditated in any way. And it was remedied in good faith, open meeting law style by mentioning it at a later meeting and referring to the video. In other words, it wasn't the way we like to do things, but the information at that meeting is entirely accessible. And we can meet on the subject again at any point. In other words, that wasn't a decision-making meeting, as Janet said. It was like a seminar on the 208 plan, a very good seminar.
Yeah. So unless anybody, and
Just
okay,
one more
someone does
thing.
have something to say. Go ahead.
The other thing is that I don't remember who told me, but I'm sure we were all informed that we can't deliberate at that meeting because the posting had been late, and so we were all conscious of not actually deliberating, or at least I was. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can only speak
No,
for myself.
I
but
don't
I was told.
think we
and-
deliberated at all, yeah. Okay, and yes, I would just comment too on this open meeting law comment is that you really can't make personal statements about people and that you really have to stick to the facts. I mean, that's what we really try to do here is stick to the facts. And so, do we need a motion to approve?
Yes, if you would take a
File these
motion to
complaints.
approve the letter related to the August 16th complaint as presented and the August 14th complaint as amended, and authorize the town administrator to sign the responses.
I move
So
that.
we can't say so moved?
You
Yeah,
can't say so moved. Yeah, I
Well,
know.
why can't we?
Because he's.
Okay, I
he's
move
not on
that
the
we
committee, yeah.
approve the letters to the Director of the Division of Open Government with regard to the open meeting law complaint from Judith Ahern dated August 14th, 2019, as amended. And the letter to the same Director of Division of Open Government in response to the open meeting law complaint from Judith Ahern dated August 16th, 2019.
16th or 19th?
August 16th, 2019. Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Oh, and to
Oh, yeah,
allow the town
sorry.
administrator, sorry, guys.
Yeah.
And to allow the town administrator to sign them and send them off.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, thank you. Thank you guys for all your hard work and considerations. And we are now up to support for the ZBA decision on Old Kings Highway special permits for Habitat for Humanity. Again, I think that's, Kathleen, I think that's,
Yes, Madam Chair, we
simple.
got three really good letters with regard to this. One from Sharon Inger, the Chair of the ZBA, another from
that's what I wanted to ask.
a co-board member, Bruce Drucker, and then from Elaine McElroy from the Housing Authority. There was quite a conversation about this on the Wellfleet Community Space page. This is the third go-around with these abutters, and they're just going to bleed this out. They're going to bleed Habitat for Humanity dry on this project if we don't step up legal reinforcements that support the ZBA's decision to grant this approval. What can I do to change their mind? I can line up people on Long Pond Road that starts at the highway to the building site that are going to wait in line to get these 4 houses. That's how deep the wait is for affordable homes in Wellfleet. Would that impress upon them the need about this project? I don't know. But they have deep pockets, and they're just going to continue and continue to deny this project to go forward or being built. They have the money to do so. It's time for the town to take the gloves off and pull out all the stops and let people know that we have the right to do this project. Habitat for Humanity has stepped it up. They looked at their concerns. They've mitigated the plans. They've adjusted and tailored their sales for the project. So I'm hoping the Select Board will support not only the ZBA's decision on this, but that we will tell legal counsel that that they need to go forward and really push this. Thank you.
Thank you. And then also, this is to say that we effectively support the issuance of the comprehensive permit on the appeal, and we urge the town to authorize the expenditure required to have town council actively participate in the defense of the comprehensive permit. Otherwise, the rest of the letter is just an explanation of where it is and what's going on. Are there any questions or comments from the board? From the audience?
We wrote this because this is the 3rd time around. And the 2nd time around, we lost on a technicality that had we been more upfront and fighting it, we would have won, because it was an easily appealed decision from Land Court that sent us back down here. And now, technically, the town has always taken a back seat to these and let the developer go ahead and take the lead on the legal requirements. In this case, the first count is a procedural count. We're being charged that we didn't follow procedure. And we had town council, thanks to you, gave us the money to have town council with us with every meeting, and we dotted every I and crossed every T. And town council believes that if we can authorize her to go to discovery, that we will in fact be able to fight a more vigorous case. So that's why we wrote these letters. We really would appreciate, the willingness to spend the funds so we don't have to go around it again, for one thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay. Yes, go to the microphone, please, and state your name.
Larry Horowitz, Wellfleet. I've been on that road quite a few times, and it's exceedingly narrow. And if there was ever an emergency in any of these homes or in the Habitat homes, and a car was coming down the other way, there would be no way to get an ambulance, a police car, fire trucks up into there. There's a safety risk in putting the access on Old Kings. It's just too narrow for it. I think that the abutters would have no problem if the access was off of Long Pond Road. And I think you guys should just consider that as an option so that we can get on and get these homes built.
So again, you may want to read the past minutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board and the Housing Authority minutes. To come off through Long Pond Road, you'd have to cross over seashore land. It's not our land. And second, both the fire and the, which also includes EMTs and ambulance, and the police have signed off on the road. They've marked a couple trees, not a lot of trees that might have to come down, and they're kind of scraggly pines. So the safety issue is that's one of the first things that has to be looked at when you're applying for any permit for even just a regular house. You have to have the fire sign off on it that it would be okay.
Yeah, Janet, through you
That-
too.
yeah.
Larry, Habitat for Humanity has actually mitigated the egress. They did look at that concern. They felt it was valid. They've mitigated the egress. I mean, they've done everything to meet.
But why would they have the road that goes down the hill onto Old Kings Highway be directly across from someone's driveway so that water can go down and possibly flood their home? Why is that exact spot so important? Why can't it be moved a few feet over?
Yeah, briefly, because again, you can, it's really great to like, do some research, because we have everything online. We have all your meetings, I'm sure all your
of our
minutes are
meetings are
from the
online.
past 5 years online, 4 to 5 years. And it's good to have your questions answered earlier.
So, yes, and I'm Sharon Inger, by the way, I'm chair of the zoning board. There are two possible entrances to that property. One is on, not Long Pond Road, but Old Long Pond Road. Old Long Pond Road is a 90-degree angle once you go into it. It is not possible to turn a fire truck. They looked at that road, and the fire department told us, no, that's not possible. So Habitat went back. In terms of the water runoff, they are required to do, I do not remember the numbers, they are required to do a certain number of years design on the water mitigation. They have doubled that. So there is a landscaping plan, there is a water plan, the Board of Health has looked at the water plan, the police and fire have looked at the road. We have gone over every one of these issues. It's like most town-owned land, it isn't prime real estate. It is, we often have on Habitat and other affordable housing things, we take the land that is possible to use, and that is the land we've done. We've looked at everything we can think of.
Thank you.
No.
Okay, so all in favor? Do you have a question?
No, we have to make a motion.
I just have one point
Okay.
to make. I don't think that this would be even an issue if this were a private home development. I don't think any of these points would be even argued. There's constantly construction going on in areas where there's steep grades, narrow roads. I mean, it goes on and on. If this was just a private person building on the property, I don't think these issues would even be mentioned. So I think we should grant the resources necessary, and I think it's a matter of precedent that we don't back down on these kinds of issues. That's it.
Okay,
May I
I'll
have
make
a motion?
I move to support the ZBA's decision to grant a comprehensive permit under Chapter 40B to Habitat for Humanity to build 4 affordable housing units at the property on Old Kings Highway. Do I need to add anything about legal representation, or Dan?
No, once you've made this, I'll make sure that
Okay, thank you.
Second.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, moving on to the Select Board input on Comcast license agreement negotiations. This is requested by Helen. What specifically did you want to ask or say?
So, we received, a lot of letters about this from people who are on the part of Lieutenant Island that doesn't have access.
Right.
And I stopped counting at 18. And I think there's some more people. But the point is that, through you to the town administrator, we got some emails from you about this. And Comcast understandably needs to have numbers, there need to be enough people who are wanting this. And I think there are. And I also think that although a lot of those people don't live there all year, there are some people who do live out there all year in the part that doesn't have access to what Comcast has to offer. But there are people that live out there and work out there for good parts of the year, you know? They're part-time residents. Maybe they live here 9 months, maybe they live here 3 months. And I think we should say to Comcast, we want to do this, and then I have a question about that. And there are enough people, and look at all these emails we've gotten, and through you to the town administrator. So do they have, they want to be able to have a contract with us, right? We have leverage. You know, in other
We have
words.
a little leverage because they, so there was a meeting of the.
Which I didn't go to.
Right, Dan and I went.
So can we have a report about that meeting,
I mean,
maybe?
Isn't the issue an easement?
That's what I thought.
And is Sandy Rose the reason that we're not going to get that easement? He's the new owner of a property?
I don't know the exact name of the person. It sounds familiar, but there's one person who refuses to give the easement, which is kind of at the start of the entrance.
So, through you, Madam Chair, to Mr. Hort, I'm sorry to interrupt here, but what overture do we need to make to Mr. Rose to, you know, gain an easement for Comcast to, you know, to go forward with providing that service?
Well, I'm going to be writing him a letter just to appeal to his
Better nature.
his senses, you know, that if his refusal to give an easement is stopping everybody else from getting the connection, just hopefully appealing to his better sense of granting this
Frankly,
easement.
I'm surprised. I know him personally, and I'm very surprised. I think that there's a way to work this out, so.
Yeah, I think
Madam
that's what we're
Chair?
hoping for. So just with, so we've discussed that we do want to get high-speed internet, fiber optics, not only to Lieutenant's Island, but there's other people along
Parts of the town.
parts of the town, parts of Truro, parts of Eastham. A couple of years ago, it was discussed to do a regional.
Fiber.
Yeah, like to get the Eastham, Truro, Wellfleet, and possibly Provincetown all doing a regional request through the state to get money for it. And when they also see that there are that many people that don't have Wi-Fi, that's a safety issue, it's an economic issue. So yes, I think Mr. Hort wants to put pressure on Comcast. I think the second step after putting pressure on Comcast is to see a bigger picture and see about getting some quotes from providers, and then going with that information to the state to know exactly what we need. And one of the things still may be not fiber optics, but a cell tower at the dump transfer station, or the, not a big one. They have these little needle towers. So I know that we're looking into it. But yeah, it is, we know people want it.
Yes. Janet?
Yep.
So I did not follow up on something, but when we got the email from Dan about this, Janet and I were on the planning board. And one of the things I know about being on the planning board, from being on the planning board, is that in subdivisions, all the ways, the layout of the way, not just what people drive on, but the actual layout, which is pretty wide, right? Everybody in the subdivision has access to that road. And I would really think that, by all means, let's contact this person in a diplomatic way, but to also ask town council, whoever knows the most about the subdivision control law, hey, isn't something that would be laid out along that way, within the lines of the way, that everybody in the subdivision has access to, whether somebody has put their shed on it or not, which is illegal, can't we do this just because of that? So that would be
No,
a thing
no,
to ask town
we can't.
council.
Janet,
Okay,
through you
Kathleen.
to Helen, Lieutenant's Island isn't a subdivision.
Yes, it is.
I don't think it is.
Yes,
Well,
it is.
okay, so
I
we have
know.
to find that out. We have to find out where this person's house is. Is it in the subdivision? Is it outside of it? So there's a lot of concerns.
Once you're over the bridge, it isn't.
That money.
Oh, okay. It isn't what? It isn't a subdivision?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, these are all concerns, and I know that there are two people within that subdivision, or within, I'll say, that part of, section of Lieutenant's Island that are working on alternatives. So, Matt had his hand up.
I'm imagining that there's power lines and a
Yeah.
phone utility easement already through there. Might the cable company be able to use the utility easement that already exists?
Yeah.
Is Wi-Fi, but I don't think broadband is considered a public utility, I'm not sure. But it should be if it isn't. But if it is considered a public utility, I think that existing utility easements might allow, and I'm just speculating here, for additional
Safety,
lines.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
So Heather Doyle, that was here before and spoke to the Shark Memorial, I shouldn't call it that. I spoke with her Friday morning about something else, and she, and maybe you know more about communication and setting it up, but she actually worked for Verizon, and she lives on Lieutenant's Island, although another part of it, and works from home. So she's more than happy to meet with Mr. Hort and kind of go over what some possibilities are, what could be needed, and how to approach the different companies that may help. Because again, it's more than just Lieutenant Island.
Yeah, I lived on
And I
Black
don't know
Pond
whether
Road
they-
for a while.
Yeah, and whether it's,
Thing out there.
you know, cable underground or fiber optics on the poles. I don't know, we have to find out more, but we certainly care about these people, and it really is important from a safety issue, but really from an economic issue. It'd be we've talked about this for 5 years with Open Cape, that it would really improve the economy of the whole entire Cape, because a lot of people don't get good service or high-speed service, and, you know, more jobs would be available, or you could work from home more. So does that answer your question or anything?
Well, my desire to have this on the agenda was simply to make sure that people knew that there were a lot of people out there, even though we
Yeah.
all got the letters. But Kathleen, with respect for your concern, at one point, that island was one big property, and it doesn't matter when it was divided up. It exists as if it had been created under the subdivision control law.
Well, we'd have to see if was there a subdivision plan
filed.
submitted?
It may have happened 200 years
But
ago.
no, no, it wouldn't have happened that long. Was there a subdivision plan ever submitted?
My memory is that there was.
Okay, well, those are all
No,
things.
that it was
So
done-
that's something that the
Yeah.
people who are working on it can look up.
Yeah.
That's not our, I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to go to the, look it up,
I will.
you know, if you want to investigate it, good winter project.
No, I'm just crazy.
Okay, yeah, okay. Do I have, yeah. I'm teasing. Okay, so enough said on that? Yes, oh, good, would you like to say something? Good. Oh. Okay, I thought he was going to talk.
Tim Sayre. I'm concerned because I can't get Comcast out where I am either.
Yeah.
Okay, and I called Comcast. Comcast said that the town said it's okay that you don't get it because we're only going to take the cream, we're not going to take the whey. Okay?
Oh, well, that's ridiculous.
And
I
that's
mean,
what they
yeah.
told me.
They can't,
I was
yeah.
on the phone with them. I threatened legal against them. Okay, meantime, I have a jetpack. That's how I deal with the Verizon jetpack.
What do you have?
A jetpack from Verizon. Okay, it's
What
a
is that?
small Wi-Fi box.
Oh, like a
Okay.
booster, like
No,
a
it's actually-
extender.
it's basically just a cell phone that you can't make a call on. You can just get Wi-Fi in on it, okay? And you can send Wi-Fi out on it. But it's not right that they're coming in here and taking the cream of the crop, okay? That's, the other thing is the way, and there are court cases in some states, I haven't looked in Massachusetts, I can speak to Florida and other states, that Wi-Fi, as he said, is considered an infrastructure. It's a necessity now, okay? The other way we've worked around it in areas is that we've gone in this case it would be Eversource, but in other states, whoever has the poles, they're contracted to string the wire because they already have the access to those poles. And they string that portion that people don't want to let them into their area through the easement on, and now the wire's up. They don't ever let those people hook up to it, but everybody else can hook up to it on the other end of it. So there are some workarounds. There are also some court cases. I'm not sure in this state, but you might want to take a look at that too. And to be very honest, I'm not happy I can't get Comcast out there. I had to go through the telephone company. I get 2 megs a second. I mean, it's 1.5. You can't even stream HD on that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
you
know.
can barely
It's-
get your
yeah.
email on that. There's other people down the line from me that have it too, and it's even worse the further out it gets. Okay,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to bring that up, and thank you for listening.
Well, as I said, we've talked about this for 5 years at least, and I'm just hoping for really new technology to come out. But I have no idea the technology. But if you want to give Mr. Hort your information, and as I said, Heather was enthusiastic about showing us or helping us learn how to deal with these different entities and getting some action. And I know that there's a community out in Western Mass in Mount Washington, but the towns around that too, that did get state funding, and that is one of Governor Baker's economic development programs, is to get everyone with Wi-Fi. If Wi-Fi or high-speed, I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't even know if we want Wi-Fi or if we want fiber optics or high-speed or cell towers. So that's even something I would need information on that, and Mr. Hort and the powers that be might need it too.
Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you.
It's important. It would be a big difference. So thank you. Thank you for always coming to our meetings. Time to get on a committee. Okay. You're not here year-round yet, are you? Not yet. Yeah. Oh, that's right, yeah, good. Okay, any other comments on this one? So we'll go on to Select Board reports, and I have a report that I think everybody will like. So our harbor master gave me this information, and this is concerning all of our concerns about getting a maintenance dredging plan going, not just dredging, but getting a maintenance dredging plan going. And this is with the GEI consultants who have done a lot of work for us, and they are the ones we are consulting with dredging. And this is a plan. It's not completely filled out. And Dan, did you get this in the email?
No.
You didn't get that either. Okay, so I did.
Could we all get that?
I did, well, you sort of can, but I don't have it in email. Mike gave me this, and I asked Mike to send me the email that he got, but I might just have to copy this. Do you want to copy this?
I can scan it and send
Yes.
it out to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's exciting that they came up with a full plan, cost, tonnage, equipment needed, and then we can work, after we work with the federal government, which Dan can correct me, we got from our lobbyist, that the money will be looked at next year, or the projects will be looked at next year, fiscal next year, which is September. And then after that, the Army Corps of Engineering looks at all the projects, puts them in order, and then, so it's really not for 2 more years at the earliest that we will get actual dredging.
Well, we think we've got the funding, but because of the way the federal government budget
Yeah.
process works, they may not release the money to the Army Corps of Engineers in time for them to do to the plan for FY 2020 fall. It may have to wait until the fall of FY 2021.
21, yeah. So that's been communicated recently. But then with this email that Dan will send out, the county is working, and we're working with the county on getting the proper dredging equipment and doing it cooperatively, communally. Yes.
Madam Chair, given how great this news is and how much of our community it affects, does it make any sense to put that on a future concern as a dredging update, or maybe you were planning on doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I just got this from Mike
Yeah,
2
yeah.
days ago, so I just wanted to share that with you. But yeah, we'll have a dredging update.
I keep getting
think I
asked
would ask
questions.
for that,
Yeah, there hasn't been updates. We're finally getting, I mean, there have been updates, and the updates have been nothing happening, but now
Exactly.
things are starting to happen, so,
No, it's great news.
yeah, yeah,
Lots of
it's
hard work.
moving. And we have gotten all the environmental permits approved, kinda. Some of them, the National Heritage Endangered
Everything
Species.
should be, we're just waiting for the DEP to release it, but they have
it's-
everything they need. So
Yeah.
it should be any day now that we hear
Yeah.
that the Army Corps has their water quality certificate, which was the last thing they were
Yeah.
waiting for.
So we will, I mean, that's always on my, well, that's all, everybody's priority list, but we could talk about it at one of our next meetings. Kathleen?
Yeah, 2 Select Board reports. The non-resident taxpayers' annual August meeting was held, and Helen, myself, and Justina showed, and we were 3 very distinct, unique individuals that showed strength and solidarity when it came to the community and the town and the issues the town are facing. So I want to say to the 2 that were with me, job well done, and they're a great group to meet with. Second report is the 95 Lawrence Road Task Force meeting of Monday, August the 26th, with our consultant Laura Schufeld from the Mass Housing Authority. She has worked with an engineer who conceptualized plans showing the site with the development of potential housing. And
Good.
it was awesome, really awesome. It's very exciting. I want to say to you that this task force that's been meeting has been doing very thoughtful, real critical thinking on how to develop this RFP. And it's just, I'm just so grateful to be part of the process.
Yeah, it's an important one. Great. Anybody else?
Yes.
You go first. You had
Okay.
your hand up.
So quickly, I went to the annual meeting of the Guapaka organization, which is a meeting of the people that are in the northeast of Wellfleet around the ponds and the people that are in the south east of Truro around the ponds. And our pond people extend all the way to Long Pond. And one of the interesting things this year is that Andrew Gottlieb, who, you know, knows a lot about 208 plans and about water in general because of his work experience and just who he is, gave a lot of good information and linked it and informed people to the necessity of the 208 plan because it includes fresh water. So that was a really good meeting, and they're a good bunch of people, and they care. And a lot of them have moved their septic systems away from Gull Pond, the ones on Gull Pond, which
good.
costs time and, you know, money.
Yeah. Good. And Mike?
I've been informed that the Citizens for a Sensible Wellfleet Bikeway have collected over 1,100 signatures in opposition to the bikeway alongside Route 6, past all the curb cuts towards the center of town from, I think everybody knows, around PJ's, Bay Sales Marines, into town. 550 of those signatures were from Wellfleet and South Wellfleet. 730 of them are from neighboring towns of Eastham, Wellfleet, Truro, Provincetown, and Orleans. And I think we should all be aware of the sort of growing opposition to that plan. And
Didn't even seen it.
Right, there isn't.
there isn't a plan yet, but there's
But there's
a plan,
opposition,
There's
yeah.
opposition to it already because it's been discussed, and it's been discussed by the DCR and the DOT. And it's going to be on the horizon. And if there's already 1,100 signatures and already 550 from Wellfleet, I think we should be aware of what's coming and sort of take public input as to what people want to see.
So the Department of Transportation will probably come down end of September
With a hearing.
or October,
Yeah, with a hearing.
Yeah,
Public hearing.
and show new plans. Okay, anybody else for selectmen's reports? Then, Justina, yep.
Two things. I want to echo Kathleen's comments on the Non-Resident Taxpayers Association. I think it was a really positive meeting, and I think Kathleen and Helen and I supported each other well. It was a nice group effort, which I think is important for the non-residents to see. And I have some ideas for next year. I think it's a terrific meeting and important, and we learn.
Yeah.
I learn as much from them as they learn from us.
So I would like to ask you guys, what were some of their concerns?
Wow, each one of them had a different one.
I mean, just, yeah, like in general, is there
We had a
something we should be
lineup of
aware?
almost 20 people for questions. It went from recycling, the ban on plastic municipal water bottles.
Were they for that or against it?
For it.
Okay.
Marijuana dispensaries.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Yeah, big one there. Comments about the safety efforts that we've put in at the beaches for sharks.
And were they for it, against it, or better or
They feel the
worse?
town is doing due diligence. They're a very savvy group of individuals that care very deeply
Yeah.
about the community, and their questions were, very well thought out. I thought it, I
Good.
thought it went really well for all of us, so, yeah.
Good.
Was this meeting posted as a meeting of the Board of Selectmen?
We were invited by the
You have a
non-resident-
quorum of people meeting there. You have a quorum of your board meeting there.
Yeah, we did.
So it was posted?
Yeah.
I
No.
don't recall it being posted.
That wasn't
wasn't
posted as a
posted.
meeting.
So when
of the
before
selectmen,
we're
yeah.
talking about we can't understand how we missed an open meeting law posting, we've missed one here, because that meeting should have been posted if
Oh,
there's a
because we had
quorum
a
of the
quorum,
select
yeah,
board
right.
in
Yeah.
attendance.
I think we need awareness and also a routine. Like
Yeah, I have
whose
to yeah.
responsibility, how soon before, Courtney, there's not any way you would have known, so it's whose responsibility to tell Courtney, I guess, right?
Well, if I know there's going to be a quorum, then I would post it. We have to post it 48 hours in advance.
But
So-
you didn't know, because
No,
none
I
of us
didn't know,
told
and
you.
we didn't know last time
Right.
either, but this
Right.
is
So
going
that-
forward.
yes.
It's
If
an
any or
annual-
all of you are invited to a meeting to speak and 3 or more of you choose to attend, it would be nice to let us know so we can avoid further
Gotcha.
Well,
complaints.
yes, I
So
know
these-
that, but
so
we need
these are things we don't know, and we're learning.
maybe the junior member,
No, no.
in terms of seniority, is responsible for
But
letting
no,
Courtney know.
also, Susan Reverby, the head of the Taxpayers Association, should also be made aware of the fact that when she makes an invitation or extends an invitation to the entire Board of Selectmen, she's creating a quorum, and we need to notify the executive assistant.
Well,
We would have
it's
to know
so,
anybody who invites the Board of Selectmen. We can say it now, we can say it when you receive an invitation. Anybody who's inviting the entire Board of Selectmen to appear,
yeah.
it
Yeah,
really,
you're
it comes
right,
down to
you're
you
right.
guys. If
We-
3 or more of you
yeah.
know that you're
Yes.
going to
Right.
attend, then we need to just post it.
So
Courtney, my
we're
point is-
learning this stuff.
Madam Chair, through you, my point is, if there's not a process,
Right.
it's easier to drop the ball. I'm a
Yeah.
big believer in routine, so should we, if all of us are responsible, probably won't happen, or maybe all of us forward her the invitation. Courtney, did you get this? Courtney, is this posted?
Well, yeah,
We don't have a process right now.
Madam
Well,
Chair?
the process is open meeting law. It's just complying with that, which is if
Courtney,
you're going
we
to have a
don't know
quorum-
who's responsible for
Okay,
telling you.
so but I don't need to be told. It's my job, and I'm here to protect you guys from getting further complaints, but I can't protect you from those complaints if I'm not aware who's going to attend the meeting in order to post it. So as Helen mentioned, the SAB meeting that we had back in April or whenever, you all told me you were going to go. That's why it was posted as a select board meeting, because I knew everybody was going. So just, we can take care of it in the future, but like now we're all aware of it. This is the process. If you know there's going to be a quorum, just let me know and I'll post it. It's not a big deal for me.
Here's the way I think would work most efficiently. The thing about this meeting is I go to those meetings every single time I'm on the select board, okay? So we don't know who's going to show up.
I believe you.
We actually
Hold
do know.
on,
We
can I
actually do know.
finish, please?
We
What
know
we should
48
do-
hours before.
What we should do is, let's say we get this invitation, and we will get it next year, or to anything else. I will email Courtney and say, I'm going.
Okay.
And
And I'll do the same thing.
everybody is responsible.
We didn't know who was going to go.
Yeah.
So from here on out, that's the process. Just let me know.
And that way, we're not talking about it outside of a meeting, and we're just, and
it.
Courtney can count beautifully and say, that's 3, gotta post it.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
didn't know Justina was going to go until the morning of. She
Me
left
neither.
me a message.
Me neither.
So now it's out there, it's on video, we
Yeah.
didn't know. So if we get any complaints, we can say reference this video, but we didn't know, and in the
Yeah.
future, we'll handle it properly.
And we just figured this out.
Automatic, if we're going to a meeting where multiple people might go, tell Courtney.
Yeah.
That's our new process.
Yeah.
Got it.
And I'm gonna copy Dan too, just because I wanna fill his inbox with things that annoy him.
And call him.
Been copied, I just delete it.
Anyways, my second little
Okay.
point was that Janet and I, no quorum, were lucky enough to be at the One Cape conference at Wayquasit Inn. It was my first time there, and I couldn't go the second day because my head was so full of information. I was literally dizzy. But there was so much great information and networking, and as I try to get up on speed on 208, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And
No,
with
that's
that
always
meet-
good to get information.
With that
Yeah.
meeting, there was a selectmen's thing in the beginning of One Cape, and they emailed us asking us to post it. So that
That's right,
was
yeah.
posted.
Yeah.
And they do, a lot of the, even the Assembly of Delegates, if there's anything that comes to us from those types of groups, and I have even an inkling or a thought that you guys may attend, I post those automatically. I've told the town
Okay.
clerk to just put them up.
Okay, thank you.
Good idea.
Okay, moving on to Town Administrator's Report. Are we done?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Town Administrator's Report. Any comments, questions?
Question. So I know it's controversial, but could we have an update on something which I don't see here, which is on Monday, the August 19th? The town administrator and, I guess, staff met with the DOT and Stantec, and may we hear a little bit about that, please?
So what they did, what Stantec did in response to the selectmen's input at the last time they met with you is instead of having a two-way bicycle path on one side of the road, they went back to what we've got right now, really, which is a bicycle path on the shoulder on each side. So they went back to that part of it. The one thing that I think people will have to get accustomed to is having a sidewalk on both sides of the road. And that's required by federal law guidelines. You can apply for a waiver, but it can't be just because you don't want it there. It's got to be a really strong reason as to why you wouldn't have a sidewalk there. So they are going to, the Department of Transportation is going to meet with some of the property owners that are on the east side of the road to show them what a possible layout would look like and to be able to get input from them. And then after that, and I told them avoid right around Oysterfest, so probably late October, early November, they will have a public hearing or an open meeting with you to go over what their plans are, coming from Stantec, what the plans are, and to hear additional input from you and from the public.
So that will resemble perhaps the meeting we had, well, it may have a whole different tenor, but the meeting we had about the roundabout.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good. And I hope that, I understand this is very much about the DOT, but that the DCR will at least send some representatives so that everybody's in the same room at the same time, you know, just to have it work out. And thank you for that. And, you know, a lot of people are asking about it, so that's the reason it's good to have it, you know,
The one thing I would like to also tell, somewhat unrelated, but let everybody in Wellfleet know, is they indicated to us that the Department of Transportation is getting ready to do a repaving project, basically from the Wellfleet Town line with Eastham to the Wellfleet Town line in Truro. And they're looking at doing that in 2021.
Yes.
So obviously timelines can change, but that's what their plan is right now. And it's somewhat unrelated to the other ones, but they're not going to do certain things if they know that they're going to be tearing them up later to put a sidewalk here. But just so people know that we can expect them to do the repaving in 2021.
Okay, thank you. And one more question, and thank you. This is good. And thank you for your work on this.
Yep.
So who was actually at that meeting besides yourself? It's all good.
It's Pam from DOT, Andy from DOT, Jill from Stantec. I don't remember everybody's names. There were 2 other people from DOT. And then I invited a number of public safety and public works people to be present at the meeting as well, to get any input from them.
Thank you.
Sure.
Kathleen?
Yeah, Dan, I want to thank you for that too, because I got your report on that meeting, and well, I'm just thrilled about it. I like the suggestions that they're making, and it's what we hope for, you know, better safety out on the highway.
They've really been responding
Yeah,
to the
we don't have
input.
it right now,
Yeah.
and there's hope that we will, so thank you.
So I'm going to add, back to Selectman's report, is at the One Cape meeting that was in Harwich, I was fortunate in that I had lunch with Brian Carlstrom, the superintendent Brian Carlstrom, both times, and Lauren McKean was at our table too. And he is open to Wellfleet discussing a seashore town power lines cooperation to see. I mean, that'll be years in the making, but in the fall's coming up. I'm going to be busy this fall, you know. But that he said, you know, bring a proposal, but then Lauren sent me, I haven't even looked at it, their proposal from like years ago. So they're both open to it, and he seems to like the idea of a bike trail, bike path, not a bike lane. Okay. So anything else about the administrator's report? Topics for future discussion?
But other people may.
I will start while Helen looks. So we've talked about having a marijuana host agreement.
Policy.
Yes, policy and working meeting. And I just thought, you know, we've all been thinking about this for a number of years. So just send in specific concerns. Dan had sent us months ago statements from town council. We've looked at Attleboro's, or some of us have looked at Attleboro's regulations, and then there's the state regulations. So just send in concerns or things you would like to see, and then Dan can do all the work. But no, and then he can present it, and we'll have a presentation at one of our meetings, so it's a public meeting too. Yes.
Janet, we did this. There were.
Right, we
yeah,
did, so
and
let's
in other words,
formalize it, and have him
except
put it
that,
all together.
Yes, I also submitted a draft, not because it was simply last-minute thing, and we hadn't gotten anything from Dan, so I whipped up stuff based on our
Yeah, so I'm just saying,
input.
let's consolidate them. We've talked about having a working meeting. I really don't think we need one.
No,
I think we've
no,
all
no.
thought about it.
We're
Okay.
sort of between a few steps in our
Yeah, so
making
just
a
send your
policy.
steps to Dan and Courtney. I will help you guys too.
But we've already done that, okay.
We
never
have,
mind.
but it hasn't been consolidated. Okay.
It's true.
And people Mike may not have put in his ideas.
That's true.
So, go ahead, Mike.
I just put in my input.
Yeah.
So then Dan would draft basically the policy based
Yeah.
on that, come back to the select board, and we would be able to amend that.
Yeah. Discuss it,
so
amend it,
agree.
have a public hearing on it, and then be done with it.
We don't need a public hearing, it's just one of our policies, but we
Okay.
need a big public meeting.
Yes, we do. So everyone do that. And same with the use of town property. I want to refer to it as long-term use of town property. I know we have a form for town property, but same thing. We could have a working meeting on that if you want, but I just don't even know if we really need it. But you can send your comments and concerns to Dan, and he can collate them, or he and Courtney can collate them, and see what they come up with. Okay, is that good?
Well, we did try to have a working meeting on that,
Yeah.
and then we postponed it.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to actually having a working meeting on that where we
We can,
talk
if you
about,
want.
where we actually discuss what we feel amongst the board and,
Do we want a working meeting on
Yeah,
that?
I think.
You
we
do?
ki-
I think we
Justina
kind of need
does?
it because we
All right.
haven't actually
Okay.
aired out all our
Good.
concerns about it,
So is there,
worked it out, so
You-
that we can respond to each other.
We don't
You
need to do the date right now.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
good.
getting pretty
Just
late.
get through
Okay, so you
concerns.
and Mike can look up tides?
Yeah, here's my future concern.
Wait, I'm not done
She's
yet.
not finished her
Okay.
concern. She's got a
Uh,
list.
One of the future agendas is we have to talk about the tax rate. We do that in September, right? Any suggestions we have with that? So you get numbers from,
I don't have a town accountant until the middle of September, and,
Okay.
but
All
the
right.
CPA firm that's helping us out, I've asked them to work on the tax recap, which is how the tax rate gets set.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have that on the 10th, or possibly on the
Yeah.
24th, depending on where we're at with it.
yeah, I think it has to be set in September.
Ideally, it gets set in September so that when we send out
So we
the
can-
tax bills
yeah.
on October 1st, it's based on an actual. When I worked in Provincetown, a lot of times they would send out the first bill that was an estimate.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
we've been used to doing it on an actual,
That's right.
real.
And then my last thing is, when are we changing the time? We had talked about changing back to 6 o'clock. Did we ever set a time for that?
Yes.
It was
daylight
after Labor
savings.
Day. Oh, daylight savings, not
Daylight
Labor Day.
savings, Janet.
Okay.
I'm
Okey
good
doke.
with that. I'm good with that.
Yeah. When is that?
It doesn't matter
October.
when the
Yeah, I know,
darkness
but we don't know
comes.
the date. Okay, good. So,
Madam-
wait, what, Helen had her
Yeah. I
hand
did.
up for
Couple
comments.
things. Janet took care of the marijuana, which was one of mine. And here's the thing, and I'm sure it won't happen again, but scheduling meetings. There was the thing where, without conferring with the whole board, which we can do outside of open meeting when we're just talking about scheduling, nothing else, let's not ever cancel a meeting unless there's some emergency, or schedule a new meeting.
So is this on a future agenda that you want to talk about, or are you going to
Hold
talk
on,
about
let
it
me-
now?
Yes,
Okay.
no, I want to talk about it on a future agenda, so that we just have, as we just did with letting Courtney know, for example, we just have the process clear in our heads.
Okay, so put that
In
down.
other words, when we schedule or cancel or anything, that the whole board, and of course the town administrator, because he better be there, we need him,
Point of
gets to
order?
weigh in
So,
on
so
it.
you're doing what I just said, we will talk about
Yes.
next meeting,
Second thing,
right? That's what you're going to
yeah,
say?
second thing, we have never formally voted to have meetings posted on the website. We've been doing it for as long as we have been able to do it, really. You know, in other words, we got a town website.
Okay, so you want to discuss next meeting,
Yes.
Posting of the town meetings on the
Having a
website?
formal commitment to that or not.
Okay,
The
okay,
third
good.
thing,
All right.
the third thing is, and this is something Roger Putnam brought up to me, Cape Cod Commission or the Barnstable County, what's this, did it for about $30,000. I would like to have our records, all our minutes, all our past things digitalized. And that's a lot of work. We'd have to pay somebody to do it, but that we should consider it and have it on the next town meeting as, an article asking for appropriation, and that we We have a
haven't
meeting
digitalized?
about it.
There's an archive on the website of Selectmen's Minutes.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about everything.
Way back. She's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, as
so
far as
let's
I know,
talk
town
about
hall.
that.
They've been, yeah, all right. I think they've
So-
been working on it, but
And, yeah.
somebody
and-
had been.
And then,
Who wants to read that?
that's it.
Good. Anybody else for, what are we on? Future concerns?
I want to leave
Future
some room for
agendas?
Helen's.
Yes.
I would just like to request, Madam Chair, that if you could try to keep the September 24th meeting a little bit on the milquetoast side,
Yes.
because I will be away, and I don't want the big important stuff coming up without my being able to.
Will you have
Weigh in.
access to email that you could see the issues and the
No, I'm going
information?
to go off the grid.
Yeah.
Going
Look at
off
how-
the
look at
grid.
how
Wow.
neat
That,
Okay, I agree. I think we will try, and Mr. Horton, Ms. Butler will make a note of keeping it light.
We'll make it vanilla.
We'll make it
Thank
nice
you,
and light.
Mr. Horn.
except that we're going to do the shellfish regulation then.
Yeah.
But here's a question for Kathleen. Can we have your dates that you're not going to be here?
September the 22nd through September the 26th.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else with future agenda items?
Just FYI, daylight savings time starts or ends, whatever it does, on November 3rd. So our first meeting
Really?
in November would be back at 6 PM.
Yeah,
Isn't that late?
that's fine.
Quite often is around Halloween
Yeah, I guess so.
weekend.
Yeah.
Can we vote to not have daylight savings time set back the clock anymore?
no.
Because
I would,
like-
I would, I wonder if we can do that. No, it's a state
We
thing.
can't. It's a-
the state's trying to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
May we please, I'm sorry, may the person who was in the audience. who
Oh,
said-
it's okay. It's
No,
the
but
end of
what
the
did he
night.
say? I
He
didn't-
said that the state has to vote on it and then Congress has to approve it.
Thank you.
Is that what you said? Basically, okay. Correspondence and vacancy reports.
Correspondence?
Yes.
Yeah.
We received a letter from Fred and Catherine Nass on July the 31st, 2019, with regard to a situation that's been on the corner of their road, which is King Philip Road. I don't know if anybody has a copy of the letter, but here are some of the photographs. And this is, this has been ongoing.
I don't think I got that.
I didn't get it.
And is it about the,
It's about a storage container that's on King Philip Road, directly across from their driveway. The property in question is on Indian Neck Road. Its address is Indian Neck Road, and yet it created a new egress for itself on King Philip.
so,
It has placed a storage unit and has been operating as a tool shed and
yeah, I've seen
supply
it.
for plumbing. Let me finish, Justina.
Sorry.
I've been down the road because they are very good friends of mine. My brother built their house, I painted it. You need to take a look at what this looks like at the end of King Philip Road.
So what we should
So do
do
a site
is
visit.
we send it to the building inspector.
Yeah.
He's on this.
Okay, he is?
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I just sold rental property there and I go by. The owner has made, made plantings on the side of the container to blend it in. His home is well maintained. He put some, a landscaping
I
fence.
hope we're not discussing anything.
Well,
guess we
she
didn't
did,
have
and I'm
correspondence.
just gonna
You're right.
have to
Yep.
stick up for this person because, just because a neighbor doesn't like something doesn't.
It's not a matter of the neighbor not liking it, it's against our zoning regulations.
Yeah, so that's what it comes
I
to.
thought you're allowed to have a container
No.
unit.
No.
No.
Can I make a point of order here?
Yep,
I
sorry.
met with Ms. Nass today,
Okay.
and sent the building inspector an email and asked him to set up a meeting with them where I could sit in and we could discuss it with the three of us.
Yeah.
So
Shipping containers, when I was on the planning board, we discussed these ad nauseum, and they are a temporary structure. So, but that's all I'll say to it, because it's true, like, it's up to the building inspector, whether it's legal or not.
Helen, do you have my letter?
Yes, I'm looking
or
at
did I
it.
give it to
I'm
Dan?
reading it. Do you want it back?
We can't talk about
But
it.
can I
So,
look at it for another
I
minute?
have the letter and I will copy it and send it all to you.
And so, okay, so any other thing about correspondence? Okay, so let's move on to minutes.
Oh, wait a minute. I have something about
Can't
correspondence.
discuss this, right?
No.
So then, I don't want to look at it.
Okay, so
It was
here's,
discussed.
yeah, here's the
Good
thing.
for you.
So, Dan, I'm a little confused.
I drive by it every day.
So the Department of Telecommunications and Cable thing, we were supposed to give them a report on July 16th.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a letter in the Select Board's correspondence file, and it's about what we were talking about earlier, the Comcast thing.
Okay.
And what I want to know is, if we were supposed to deliver a report about what? It's unclear to me. Who was supposed to do it? Did the cable committee do it? Who did it? Maybe we need to look at that
Okay.
and see if it's too late or if we missed the boat.
Talking about now?
None of us know.
It's in the correspondence file, guys. It came to all of us.
We already talked about Comcast.
Yeah, they wanted a letter, a written letter of support from the Board of Select.
No. This is something that goes to the department it's from and has to go back to the Department of Telecommunications and Cable. You know, that agency in the state, and it had to do with Comcast.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with what we were discussing before.
Somewhere I remember that, yeah, okay.
And it was due
we'll
on
look
July
into it.
16th. I just want to know what the status of them needing a report is, and if it already got sent by some group in town.
I think it fell behind the desk.
We don't know that, so may we please look at that?
Yep, have it on the list.
Thank you.
Okay, any other correspondence? Moving on to minutes. I have a correction, and I'm looking for my minutes with all these papers. So anybody else have corrections before I add mine?
There were some typos that I didn't catch, but otherwise, all the amendments that I caught were in there, and I did look at a lot of video of it.
Where the heck is it? So can I look at your minutes for a second? 'Cause I know right
Disregard
where
what's
it is.
highlighted in yellow, okay? Unless
okay.
that's what you caught.
So, okay, so Courtney, on July 17th meeting, Courtney, July 7th, the July 17th meeting,
The work meeting.
and it's the third page, and it says, so I have it on the third page after the red, but it starts off with audience member John Morrissey asked if the public could comment later down the road at a regular meeting. Reinhardt said yes. Did you do the red?
Oh,
Wilson disagreed and said the board could express opinions to other committees but cannot direct them. That is not in reference to that sentence. It's in reference to the following sentence where audience member Bob Costa said it's the board's discretion to discuss blah, 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 who may decide in this manner. And Wilson disagreed and said the board
I've changed it.
did it. Okay,
Right, yeah.
there you go.
Thank you for catching that. I was,
Good. Okay, otherwise, can we have a motion to approve and accept the minutes as amended?
I
So
move that
moved.
we approve and accept the minutes for,
July
Yeah,
23rd and,
yeah, you have to give
July
me back
17th.
oh,
my
you got
other
July
set.
23rd and July 17th.
For July 23rd, July 23rd and
July 17th
July
of
17th,
2019.
2019, as amended.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you. And what's our favorite motion to make? Not
Move
really
to
our
adjourn?
favorite. Move to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
Yay.
out of here.
All right. Whew. Gee.